and stolen belongings.
Court come to order. All rise.
Judge Judy enters.
Have a seat, everyone.
Kevin approaches the bench.
Hello, Gus. Case number 2028, Eliasoff Blanchard versus Blanchard.
Thank you, Kevin.
Welcome.
Eliasoff,
Yes, ma'am.
that's you. How old are you?
19, almost 20.
19.
Yes, ma'am.
What do you do?
I am a server
Since when?
as of June of this year.
This is your boyfriend,
A fiance, yes, ma'am.
fiance. And how long has he been your fiance?
For over a year.
What does he do for a living?
He is currently unemployed.
When was the last time he had a job?
That was about a year ago.
What kind of work did he do a year ago?
Warehouse work.
Is there any reason that he hasn't worked in a year?
He has concussions and back injuries. And
From what?
From car accidents.
Does he currently have any lawsuits pending with regard to those accidents?
No, ma'am.
So the accidents were your fault?
No, they were the other people's faults.
The other people had no
Sorry, the other person didn't have insurance at the time. So later on, he ended up stating that he did have insurance and got out of the ticket.
Do you see a doctor regularly?
Not anymore, no. I used to, though, until I ran out of my insurance for health insurance. And then the bill just kept stacking up on me.
At that time, did you have an attorney?
No, Your Honor.
Did you ever have an attorney with regard to, did you ever consult an attorney with regard to these accidents? No.
No.
Okay, fine. Is there any reason why you're not working?
Yes, ma'am. I have bad back problems that I've had for quite some time. I have 4 discs out in my lower back. I also have knee injuries, shoulder injuries. I was pushing my body more than I should have been. I was over 300 pounds working in a heated environment, working every day. And I dropped all the weight, and then I ended up hurting myself even further from there. And then my doctor told me not to do anything over 20 pounds, so I went against her rules, and I did it anyways, and I kept injuring myself.
What kind of work does your father do?
He works as a U-Haul business associate and mechanic as well.
When did you live with your father?
I lived with my father in January, I believe it was 8th
January of what year?
of 2022, sorry.
After you have been disabled all this time
Yes.
because of all the heavy work.
Yes.
Let me give a general outline of what this case is about.
Yes, ma'am.
You and your fiancé were living where?
We were living with my father,
No, before you lived with your father.
My father.
her father.
In what state?
Wyoming.
There come a time when your father either said it's enough or you decided that you were no longer happy in Wyoming?
It was a conflict with his girlfriend that came about.
Whatever it was. If it was a conflict with his girlfriend, your father told you to skedaddle.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
And you called your father.
No, I didn't call my father.
Who did?
My father called me.
You mean just out of the blue?
Yeah, he does it at random every once in a while.
He just called you at about the same time that your fiancé's father told you to get out.
Yes, is what I believe. Anyways, I've had a few concussions, Your Honor, and I don't remember a lot.
Okay, we're going to get there. In any event, you had a discussion with your father that you didn't have a place to live, you didn't have a job, she didn't have a job, you had no money. Her father was kicking you out of the house, and he drove cross-country to get you.
Yes, ma'am.
In what month?
It was in January.
January of 2022.
Yes, ma'am.
How many miles did he drive to come and get you?
I think 1,000 miles, maybe.
Each way?
Each way, probably about 2,000 total, something like that.
Okay, so he drove 2,000 miles to come and get you.
Yes, ma'am.
And then he brought you back to his house.
Yes, ma'am.
And you weren't working.
Yes, ma'am.
And the girlfriend wasn't working.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so if you weren't working, the girlfriend wasn't working, you had no money, so your father was taking care of your expenses.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, good. And now you're suing him. And you're suing him for a host of things, which I'm going to give you a relatively short time to tell me about. But one of the things that your fiancé says is that your father owes you for wages because you worked for him.
Yes, ma'am.
Doing what?
I was doing U-Haul work, basically.
What is U-Haul work?
Oh, sorry. I'll explain. Sorry, ma'am. Basically, what we do
Not
is,
basically. I don't want to hear basically.
Sorry,
I want to
sorry.
hear what you were doing.
I would hook up U-Hauls. I would also clean and inspect all the vehicles.
Just a second. Hook up the U-Hauls,
Hook up the U-Hauls,
clean and inspect them.
clean and inspect them.
What does it involve in cleaning them?
Basically, spraying down.
Not
all-
basically.
Sorry, ma'am. Sorry. We spray down all the.
Not we, you.
Yeah, sorry. I spray down every single surface of the innards of the vehicle, basically the steering wheel, the floor plates, the radio, everything.
And when you hook them up, explain how you hook something up.
How I have to hook something up is just backing up, lining up with.
So you'd
axle.
have to drive.
Yes, ma'am.
And you're driving a car and backing up.
Yes, ma'am. And
So
then,
you're using a rear view mirror
yes.
and yourself. You're looking to see where you're backing up because you have to use both.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and then you hook them. Well, what else did you do for your father?
I also did paperwork for him, doing like inventory stocks and stuff like
Okay.
that.
Terrific.
Basically,
Not basically, I don't want to hear basically. Basically is a filler
sorry,
word.
ma'am. What else was I doing? I would sweep, clean up his shop. I would do a lot of things.
Okay,
for him.
all while you were unable to do anything else.
Yes, ma'am. I would.
All, just a second.
What were you
All
saying?
after your back issues, after your concussions, after whatever other injuries that you had from working someplace. By the way, you don't have a lawsuit pending against anybody, do you?
No, ma'am.
So it's just a question of fetching, other than maybe trying to collect a disability somewhere along the line from the federal government. You were able to hook up U-Hauls, clean them and sanitize them, sweep out the premises, do paperwork, but you can't work. I mean, because part of the lawsuit is about all this work that you did, but all while you're telling me that you're unemployable because of all the injuries that you had.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Okie dokie. You understand how ridiculous that sounds to me.
Yes.
I only had one other case in my recent memory that sounded anywhere familiar to this story, and that was a man that was also receiving disability because he had a bad back. He was the plaintiff in a lawsuit suing someone because he had built them an outdoor patio deck alone, and he wasn't paid the $6,000 for it. But he had been collecting disability for a back ailment for 31 years from the federal government. That sound odd to you?
Yeah.
Well, doesn't it sound odd to you that you're able to put hookups together and sweep and everything else, but you can't say, do you want a hamburger with your fries or fries with a burger?
Yes, ma'am.
That sounds peculiar to you. Right. So I don't want to hear about work. Okay, that's the first thing. And you lived in your father's house for how long, by the way?
I think we only lived there for the first month, and then we ended up getting moved out to a camper for like the last bit of the, I think, 2 months that we were there.
I don't know what you're suing for. You want to tell me?
Caption, coming up.
I don't want to see any pictures of what? Of the truck?
The parts that were missing.
I don't care.
And
I don't care. After 2 weeks, he could burn that truck. It's on his property without his permission. Let's go.
And later today,
That you said perfectly. I would ask her for $50 or $100, and she would lend me that. Is that the word she used?
She would lend me money and vice versa.
Thank you.
A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Kaya, Brandon, and William.
19-year-old Kaya Eliasov and Brandon Blanchard claim Brandon's father, William Blanchard, owes for unpaid wages and stolen property. William is countersuing for moving expenses and property damage.
Now, I'm not entertaining your wages because you can't work. That's what he just swore to. He can't work. That's why he's unemployed. He has 4 disc problems. I think he said 4. Whatever. He can't work. Forget him now. I want you to tell me what you're suing this man who drove 2,000 miles to rescue you after your father threw you out. I want you to tell me what you think he owes you for.
for the stolen property of my vehicle.
What stolen property of your vehicle?
He stole my toolbox with the key with it and also parts that went to my vehicle.
Did you take her toolbox?
No, ma'am, I did not.
Next. What's next?
Whenever I confronted him about it,
About what?
about the toolbox when we went to go get my truck, then he would say what he just said, that he never took it. But when I asked him where did the key go for it, he denied he would just ignore that fact.
Well, it's not a fact. It's not a fact unless
Or
you can
just
prove
like-
that he took
or-
your property. You said he just said to you, I don't have your toolbox.
But my vehicle was on his property, in his possession.
Okay. And that's what you have. Your vehicle, while you were living there, was on his property, and therefore he's responsible for the toolbox.
Yes, ma'am. When he kicked us out and then told us to come back for the truck, he was going to give us 2 weeks to have it towed. And
Because the truck wasn't working, but he let the truck stay on his property for 2 weeks.
Yes.
What else are you suing him for?
just for the repairs on the vehicle.
On what vehicle?
On my truck, that whenever I went to go get the truck off his property after that 2 weeks, that's when the toolbox was missing, and I also looked under the hood and there was wires hanging out, and those wires, I do have pictures.
Just a
and
second.
There was,
Let me ask you this question. You said, you said he gave you 2 weeks to come and get your truck off his property. The truck was inoperable when you left it on his property. Wasn't running.
no, ma'am.
That's right. You did not come to get it off his property in 2 weeks. You came after the 2 weeks.
Yes, ma'am.
How much after the 2 weeks?
I think just like a couple days after. We came back on April 23rd and we left the property April 6th.
So it was after the 2 weeks.
Yes, ma'am.
Anything else?
Yes, Your Honor.
Well, let's get there fast because I'm quickly losing patience with two ingrates.
Here's the pictures. And
I don't want to see any pictures of what? Of the truck?
the parts that were missing.
I don't care.
And
I don't care. After 2 weeks, he could burn that truck. It's on his property without his permission. Let's go. Move on. Your father came 2,000 miles to get you. He fed you for a month. He kept a roof over your head for a month. In return, you're suing him for nonsense. Let us move on.
yes, Your Honor.
Anything else?
No, Your Honor.
Very good. Okay. Now, Mr. Blanchard,
Yes, ma'am.
you have a countersuit that actually you wouldn't have brought now because you didn't have an agreement with your son and his fiancée when you went to get him. How many children do you have?
8 altogether.
Prior to going to get him cross country, when had you seen him?
Been several years.
Tell me about the conversation when he contacted you.
He said, Dad, I have no place to go. We can try to stay with her grandmother. I offered, said, I'll come get you if you have no place to go.
And then?
Within a week, I dropped everything to go get him.
Now, when your son and his fiancée came to you, sir, did you put him to work in your business?
Yes, ma'am.
And how long was he in your business?
Altogether, maybe less than 90 days.
Did he work in your business after they moved out of your house? He says they only lived in your house for 30 days.
They were in the house 45 days, and then they were left another 45 days inside of a camper.
Can you tell me why they moved into a camper?
There was a chance of my daughter coming home, and they were living in her room at the time. And so I wanted to make sure they still had something, so I put them into a camper.
Camper on your property?
Yes, Your Honor.
What kind of camper?
Small camper. It had
So
a
they
shower.
used the inside of the house to shower and
Yes, Your Honor.
stuff, but they slept in the camper?
Yes, Your Honor.
All true?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
And he paid for the camper. He paid for the electricity, water, et cetera, when you were now. She wasn't working. Did he also pay for the food? Did you eat in the house or did you eat in the camper?
No, ma'am. We were getting food stamps. So we paid for our own food. And we also helped them with their food as well.
Why were you getting food stamps?
For the short bit of time because he recommended to get on food stamps.
Had you been on food stamps when you lived in Wyoming?
No, ma'am.
Okay, how did you support yourself there?
I was working at the time.
And what about him?
Driving company, basically, we go around, pick up food from places and
So
deliver.
you were able to drive?
Yes,
Oh,
for only a little bit.
with
Your
all
Honor.
those injuries. Amazing. Okay, I would like you to testify, sir, now to the conversation that you had with your son with regard to compensation for coming to pick him up in Wyoming. Be very careful what you say to me.
I told my son before I picked him up, I said, you need to pay me back for this trip.
Did you tell him what for the trip? I mean,
Yes,
your
for all
time?
expenses. All expenses for the trip.
For the expenses?
Yes, Your Honor.
How was he supposed to do that? He wasn't working.
He was supposed to get a nighttime job on top of working, helping me out around my shop.
Did he help you around your shop?
He
You
did.
said about 90 days. Did you pay him?
No, Your Honor.
Well, if he worked for you for 90 days and you didn't pay him at all, and it cost you a couple of $1,000s, according to you,
Yes, Your Honor.
to go out and get him, hire trucks, spend time back, whatever it was, and he worked for you for 90 days without compensation, why do you think he did that?
I was hoping just because that's what he really wanted to do.
No good deed goes unpunished. You went and you got him, and now they're suing you, but their case is dismissed. They have no case against you. It's all a bunch of nonsense and ridiculous. But likewise, sir, your counterclaim is for the expenses that you incurred in going to pick them up. I don't actually think that there was an agreement to pay you back for your expenses, but even if there was an agreement to pay you back for your expenses, the fact that he worked for 90 days without any compensation, I think, more than compensates you for that. As a result of that, your counterclaim as well is dismissed. We're finished here.
This court is adjourned.
You try to do your best for your kids whenever you can, and this is no different.
It's been very difficult growing up.
I hope he gets his life together.
I don't want anything to do with him.
I'll always be there for him.
It's time to cut the strings. I'm done with him.
That young man sounded as if he was intelligent. That doesn't mean he was smart. That means he was intelligent. Because at age 19 or 20, to have already figured out that you can't work because you have a bad back unless you really have to work. If you really have to work, then you can work for your father. That's a bad mindset for a very young person. That means that your life is really going nowhere. You're not preparing yourself to do anything.
And to take it a step further and to sue the only person that was there for you in a time when you needed them.
No good deed goes unpunished.
Case number 2059, Dobson versus Jones, Poindexter. All parties, please step forward.
Clarissa Dobson is suing her sister-in-law, Kenesha Jones Poindexter, for a trip and wedding expenses.
Judy.
Miss Dobson, I assume this is your brother,
Yes, it is, Your Honor.
and this is his wife.
That is correct.
They're newly married.
That's correct.
When were they married?
June of 2021, June 26th.
Were you at the wedding?
Yes, I was. I was in the wedding.
Wedding at your house?
Wedding was at my home.
This is the unfortunate circumstance that I read in your papers, which I hope to be able to resolve quickly. You've known the defendant for many, many years.
Yes, that's correct.
She became engaged too when she was getting married, and they were planning a wedding, according to you. And Ms. Poindexter, according to you, asked you to lay out certain monies for her for the wedding.
That's correct.
They were married. It was a joyous day, I gather. And then you asked her for the money back.
Yes, that's correct.
And she said, I never agreed to pay you any money. We're family. I've done things for you. You've done things for me. There was never an agreement for me to pay you. And your brother, he said, leave me out of this.
Yep.
I don't want to get involved with this. You two ladies take care
That's
of it
exactly
on
what he
your own.
said.
Okay, well, it seems like a family matter, then more like a court matter.
Caption coming up.
I don't see stupid written over here.
No.
If somebody doesn't have $50 and you think I believe that you relied on her statement that I'm going to pay you for this trip that your brother is going on too, I don't believe it.
A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Clarissa and Kenesha.
Clarissa Dobson claims her sister-in-law, Kenesha Jones Poindexter, is responsible for trip costs and wedding expenses.
You have your own home.
Yes, that's correct.
Tell me about your home.
Nice home, got a lot of land around the property.
How much?
I would say probably a half an acre, which was big enough to put up 2 large tents, 45 guest tables, chairs, the mayor, some police. It was nice.
And there were certain things that you paid for.
Yes, that's correct.
You paid for a photographer?
Yes, that's correct.
How much?
The photographer was $300, Your Honor.
Okay, what else did you pay for?
Because the party was held at the home, the wedding, excuse me, all the events pertaining to the wedding party had to take place at the home.
Like what?
So like when we had our bridal shower meetings, because also Miss...
Oh, you mean the meetings to plan the wedding?
Right, to plan the wedding.
I'm not interested in that.
You're not interested in that?
I'm not interested in that. Yeah, so far we have $300 for a photographer that you say you laid out. Did she lay out that money?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, what else?
Her rides back and forth.
I'm not interested in her rides back.
Well, how was she going to get this? She's in Philadelphia. I'm in New Jersey.
$300 for a photographer. What else?
And just money she asked to borrow for the most part throughout the wedding.
Just a second.
So we have...
How much and when? So far, $300 for a photographer.
So on January 20th, Your Honor, we have $150.
For what?
She didn't say what it was for. It was for the wedding, though, because I have it here. Everything wedding is here.
Well, did she ask you for this $150 on the phone, in person?
She asked for it, like, over the phone, but then I sent the money, too. So anything that I sent to her, I always sent to her through Cash App because she's in Philadelphia, no car.
Okay. Then let me ask Ms. Poindexter. Ms. Poindexter, there would be no other reason for Ms. Dobson to send money to you through a Cash App during the wedding period other than for the wedding. Would that be accurate?
Not in January, Your Honor. We didn't start planning our wedding until 90 days before June. So anything that happened in January had nothing to do with my wedding.
Okay. Do you have Cash App statements before January?
I have nothing before January.
She has nothing before.
I have everything
Only
from
after.
January on.
Only after. So that would be for the wedding.
We didn't start planning our wedding until about March. We got married in June.
So what would she be sending you money for?
It has been times, I'm sorry, it has been times when I'll ask her for, let me get $50 or, it has been times if I didn't have it or I might have needed a car fare or something, and she would do that. She would lend me money and vice versa.
No, I'm not talking about vice versa. I don't have a counterclaim. That you said perfectly. I would ask her for $50 or $100 and she would lend me that. Is that the word she used? Let's make sure I heard that right.
She says, it has been times when I'll ask her for, let me get $50 or, there has been times. And you asked her why. She said if I didn't have it or I need a car fare or something, and she would do that. She would lend me money and vice versa.
Thank you. Lend me money. So, okay, now we're going to get to Ms. Dobson. Yes. How much money did you send her via Cash App? Because she's already just acknowledged that those were loans.
So, 150, 100.
Let me have the dates.
Oh, okay.
Okay, let's go back. 150 on what date?
January 20th.
Okay, 100 on what date?
February 11th.
Next.
March 8th, $50.
Okay.
April 4th, $100. May 11th, $20. May 17th, $25. May 22nd, $205. 15 on May 25th. May 28th, $45. June 3rd, $15. And I had a February 28th in here for $50. That was the first one, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I had February 11th only, so you have another.
Right, a February 28th for $50.
Can I see all of those?
Yes, ma'am. There you go.
Clarissa hands documents to Kevin, who brings them to Judy. She reviews them.
Okay. Sarah Rose, would you fix that up for me? Okay, and you, based upon the read back and based upon what I thought I heard, anytime she sent you money, it was because you ran out of money, you were in a bind, and she loaned you the money. That's what was here. Excuse me. You have
$775.
$775. Has she paid you back any of that money?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. Now, the photographer. I want you to tell me how it came about that you paid the photographer.
Because Miss Jones / Poindexter was waiting on unemployment to hit. And I'm not saying she wasn't trying to get the money up, because she was. But when the time came, this photographer guy needed to get paid, she didn't have the money.
You want to tell me about the photographer?
Yes, the photographer, I believe I was short like $300 some odd, and Clarissa did put the rest of the money.
Why didn't you pay her the $775?
I don't believe I owe Clarissa.
Well, you just told her that she loaned you the money when you were short, and she wired it to you or did whatever they do in a cash app. I don't understand all of that. You said it was a loan. Is there any reason why you didn't pay her back? No. Okay. So far I have $775 and $300. Next.
Okay, so now we have the trip. They are the godparents of my twins. Yeah, Anna, we were inseparable.
Okay,
So,
they're the godparents of your twins, your
Yep.
twins.
came time for their birthday. She said
Month and year.
April of last year, 2021.
Okay, April of 2021.
Right. So in the process of planning the twins' birthday, Miss Jones Poindexter said, oh, I would like to go. I'm just waiting on the unemployment, pandemic money, all that to hit. When it came time to go, they didn't have the money.
You're talking about the defendant and your brother. They both went.
Right, so...
Just a second. They both went.
They both went, that's correct.
And what kind of work does your brother do?
He was a chef at the time.
So he was working.
Yes.
And she wasn't working.
Yes. Can I say something?
You can say whatever you want to say. You know where I'm going, don't you?
I know where you're going.
Okay.
Like I said, we were inseparable, right?
I don't care. I don't care about the social aspect of this.
Okay, but certain things she just didn't want to let him know she was doing, because at the end of the day, she thought she was going to get this money.
Miss Dobson, I don't care whether you say she didn't know what she was doing. You were already in a place where on January 20th, she didn't have $150, so you sent it to her. On February 11th, she didn't have $100, you sent it to her. On March 8th, she didn't have $50. You had to send it to her. So I don't see stupid written over here.
No.
If somebody doesn't have $50 and you think I believe that you relied on her statement that I'm going to pay you for this trip that your brother is going on too because his godchildren are celebrating a birthday, I don't believe it. So let's just forget a trip. $775 is what she says she owes you because she says it was a loan. $300 for the photographer. You have the pictures?
Yes, ma'am.
And I don't hear anything from you suggesting to me that this $300 was a gift.
I honestly did believe that she was doing it for our wedding.
Okay, good. $1075, judgment for the plaintiff. Thank you very much.
So, Your Honor, what
This court is adjourned.
That's it.
It's just a sad situation all the way around.
That's probably how she feel right now.
I love my sister-in-law.
She love me and I love her. So what?
Honestly, I just want to be able to see my godkid.
I'm sure we'll be all right.
It's always unfortunate and sad when nice occasion.
Her ex-roommate, Tara Williams, for breaking a lease and filing a false restraining order.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Kevin.
Hello, Judge. Case number 2023, Henderson versus Williams.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Miss Henderson, you and your kids and Miss Williams and her kids decided to rent a house together.
Yes.
And when was that initially?
We moved in January 21st of 2021.
How large a house was it?
5-bedroom.
And who moved in with you?
Me, my 2 children, Tara, her 3 children, and...
The third roommate?
Yes.
What was your share of the rent?
The share of the rent,
Yours?
$14.95.
And yours?
We paid, me and her split it, and then took cash from...
The third roommate?
Yes. so $14.95 too.
And you lived there for a year. What I gather is sort of towards the end of the year, things were getting a little testy between the two of you, either because of you or because of the kids. You had children, and things weren't working out, so that both of you were not real happy with each other. That be a fair statement?
Yes. It started earlier in 2021.
I'm sure, but at the time that the lease was up, you both weren't really happy with each other. And according to your complaint, she left, you were stuck paying the rent, and she had signed a renewal of the lease, and you want her to pay her portion of the rent until you found a new roommate, which you actually found a new roommate several months later. The defendant says she told you that she was contemplating living with you for another year, that her speculation that you went into her room and took a signed copy of the lease and gave it to the rental agent or whoever it was.
It would have been in the kitchen in my area where my papers were.
Whatever. And it was never her intention to sign a second lease. Your lease was up in January of 2022.
Yes.
The defendant was away for a period of time. When was the defendant away? Just prior to January of 2022.
She went to Hawaii for a week.
When?
I think she left on January 8th, give or take a day, I don't remember.
And did you return the signed copies of the lease to the landlord?
No, they were turned in December.
By both of you?
For the lease renewal, all three of us re-signed in December, and I have a copy of that.
What I'm asking you is, were they turned in, because that's very easy to verify, were they all turned in before she went to Hawaii?
Yes.
Okay. I'll see what you have.
Ellen hands a document to Kevin, who brings it to Judy. She reviews it.
Well, Miss Williams, if it's your statement that she took your signed copy of the lease and turned it in without your permission at some point when you were in Hawaii, that's what you're alleging. If this doesn't bear that out, Miss Williams, I'm going to tell you it doesn't lend itself to the truth of that statement, because this indicates that the two of you and the third roommate signed this on December the 19th. Then you turned it in. Then it was turned in. That was before you went to Hawaii. The landlord signed it on December 20th, which means that if the landlord signed it on December 20th, he signed it before you went to Hawaii, which means she couldn't have stolen your copy of the lease.
Right.
Do you understand?
Yeah, no, I'm not stating I was in Hawaii when she turned it in. I left for Hawaii January 8th through the 18th.
I understand that.
Okay. I was unaware.
When our lease was up for renewal, we weren't getting along, and I was on the fence about spending another year with Ellen. In December, we received a copy of the lease renewal. I felt pressured into signing it, but then we told Ellen we needed more time, just you. I had to leave town. Well, I don't know, you don't have any witness here because you say I had to leave town, so I decided to hold on to the lease until I returned. Where did you go?
I went to Hawaii.
Well, that was in January.
Yes.
Well, but the landlord got a copy of the signed agreement December 20th.
I didn't know it was turned in.
Oh, well,
I didn't receive an
I
email.
don't know whether it was turned in or not.
So I
Okay.
emailed Rentcon,
Okay.
and I have messages stating it was received from Ellen.
Okay. I'll see what you have. Okay.
Tara hands a document to Kevin, who brings it to Judy. She reviews it.
No,
The next,
this doesn't say that at all. Lease renewal was signed by all three tenants. Correct. Lease was signed by all three tenants, and it was received before you went to Hawaii on the 20th of December. Okay. Easy. You moved out in February?
January 31st of 22.
When was the first lease up?
The 22nd of January 22.
So you stayed on after the lease was up?
Yes.
Why?
I wasn't completely moved out yet. I
Oh,
was in
that's too
Hawaii.
bad.
I had reached out to Rincon about paying extra to pay the extra few days.
Okay. And when did you get a new roommate?
Caption, coming up.
Did you keep blowing her off, or did you answer her?
No, I
No, just a second.
I did not
Did you
answer.
blow her off, or did you answer? So the answer is you blew her off. You blew her off.
Yes.
About the rent, which she was stuck with.
Right.
Right. Okay, good.
Tara smirks. A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Ellen and Tara.
Ellen Henderson claims her ex-roommate, Tara Williams, broke their lease and filed a false restraining order against her. Tara is countersuing for a security deposit, utilities, and damaged property.
Okay, when did you get a new roommate?
She moved in April 18th.
Did she pay January's rent?
Yes.
So you're talking about February and March.
February, March, and then prorated April.
Well, February and March, $14.95, $29.90. Okay, the next part of your case involves filing for a false restraining order. Did you file a restraining order, Miss Williams, against Miss Henderson?
Yes.
I'd like to see what it says. No, don't give me that whole thing. Your application for a restraining order, I'd like to see what your application for... Don't hand them that whole thing. I said I'd like to see what your application for a restraining order said.
Tara hands a document to Kevin, who brings it to Judy. She reviews it.
Okay, so what you say is she sent you 3 letters. You're asking because she sent you 3 letters. They were annoying. I want to know what she was asking for in those letters. Was she asking for rent money? Was she asking for rent?
Yes.
Okay, so she was asking for her money.
Yes.
For your rent money for the months that she didn't have a roommate. Well, that's not harassment, madam.
There's more, but...
What?
There's more. She's telling me that I stole some of her stuff and stuff. In the first letter, it says, if you don't pay this in 5 days, we'll take...
Yeah, she's
legal
allowed to
action.
say that. Okay.
Yeah, which
so
is
she wrote
totally
to you.
fine, but she sent it 2 more times, emailed it, and then showed up at my children's school while I was dropping them off.
Did you keep blowing her off, or did you answer her?
No, I
No, just a second.
I did not
Did you
answer.
blow her off, or did you answer? So the answer is you blew her off.
Yes, I was fine with going to court.
You blew her off.
Yes.
About the rent, which she was stuck with.
Right.
Right. Okay, good. $29.90 is what she owes you for rent. Now, part of your counterclaim for get money for damages, you get security deposit. How much was her security deposit?
We paid equally between me and her.
No, how much did she pay?
It was half of...
How much was your security deposit?
$1,747.50.
1747. Is that right?
Yes.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. And where is her security deposit?
In our lease, it states that if you break the lease, the deposit stays with the house. And I have an email from the property management stating that same thing, that she signed a lease saying that if she leaves early, the money stays with the house until everyone moves out.
So the security deposit, if you and your new roommate keep the house safe, you're going to get back.
Mm-hmm.
Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
And you don't allege any damage. Is that correct?
I had to clean up the carpets in her room upstairs. And
Okay. Do you have an invoice for that?
No, I did it myself.
Okay. 2990 less 1747.
$1,243.
So far, she owes you $1,243. That's less the security deposit, which you and your hopefully neat roommate will get back.
May I say something about the payments for rent? So it was me and her doing equal rent at $1795.25. So that's what I paid. Me and her paid that in January, and I paid the entire amount in February, March.
I understand she was no longer paying rent. You're getting the rent, but I'm deducting from that.
My portion is $1795, and that's what I'm asking her for, because that's what her portion was when she moved out as well.
Just a second. Am I correct that she, at the time you moved in, individually paid as a security deposit $1,747? Is that correct?
Yeah, but I'm talking about the rent payments. It's not $1495, it's $1795.
Was your rent each month $14.95 or $17.95?
$14.95.
Can I see it? Anybody have any proof of that?
I printed out the log, but she paid us $300 each in cash. So there's no, she is on the lease, but it does not show she was paying cash.
You mean the third roommate?
Yes.
The third roommate?
Right.
So your amount was $14.95?
Correct.
I got it.
Up until the end of December.
Okay, I'm finished. Now, the next part of your counterclaim is for utilities. Security deposit you get back. What utilities do you think she owes you?
She did not pay me November, December, January, or February closing for utilities.
Did you pay them?
I paid them.
I'd like to see where you paid them. No, don't give me a whole bunch of papers. I don't want to see a whole bunch of papers that I have to go through. I want to see what utilities there were, when you sent her, a statement of what the utilities were.
Yes.
I assume it worked that she paid you a portion of the utilities?
Yes, it was
What
split.
portion of the utilities did you pay?
We split it equally the whole time we were there.
Okay, so whatever utility bills that were paid by her, you were supposed to pay half.
Correct. Which
Did you?
my last payment to her was December 4th for Spectrum, water, trash, and gas.
That was 12/4. How much did you pay her?
$364.61.
Okay, just a second. Did she pay you $364 in December?
She did for prior months.
So that was for November. That covered November. If it was paid in December, that covered November.
It would have been more so October. I
can't get involved with that, madam. Don't give him a whole bunch of papers. Don't give him a whole bunch of papers. December and January statement for utilities. You were gone in February.
Yes.
December and January bills for utilities. Did you pay those?
I did not because she left me with all the rent.
I understand that, but now you're getting your rent. Now we're going to settle up on the utilities.
And I didn't include it in the lawsuit, but she still owes me for trash. And I have a list of stuff that she took of mine that I did write.
I'm not interested in it, Miss Henderson.
And
it
she
didn't work out. You
overcharged-
should be very happy. She's gone. You didn't like her.
She overcharged me utilities with her business expenses.
Okay.
Every month we lived there.
Judy glares at Ellen. Caption, coming up.
Did you come in contact with her on the 25th of May in a pedestrian car incident?
Not that I recall.
About 1 minute to 8 in the morning. Who drives a white minivan?
Me.
Sarah raises her eyebrows. A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Ellen and Tara.
Ellen Henderson has accused her ex-roommate, Tara Williams, of breaking their lease. Tara claims she filed the restraining order because Ellen was stalking her.
Miss Henderson, it didn't work out. You should be very happy. She's gone. You didn't like her.
She overcharged me utilities with her business expenses.
Okay.
Every month we lived there.
We have a bill for December and January.
Tara hands a document to Kevin, who brings it to Judy. She reviews it.
If there's anything here that's not December and January, I'm dismissing that part of your claim. And I already have a bill that's dated April of 2022.
Right, that was for January and February water.
That's $390. Billing date 4/14. No.
It was
No. I want you, because I'm losing my patience slowly. Please read out the bills, the total bills for December and January only. Sarah, get ready.
Can it go till February 1st?
Yes.
Okay.
By the way, while she's looking for that, did you go to her kid's school?
I served her a letter of default and a cease and desist letter in the parking lot of her school, kids' school. Because she didn't pick up a letter from the mailbox. She knew it was coming from me. And I had to go back to the mailbox and get it after a month.
Okay.
And I didn't know where she lived. I didn't know how else to reach her.
Okay. Did you come in contact with her on the 25th of May in a pedestrian car incident?
Not that I recall.
About 1 minute to 8 in the morning. Who drives a white minivan?
Me. What was the date?
May 25th.
Oh, yeah, that was her kid's school. That was her kid's school when I delivered the letter.
Well, that's why she filed for protective order against you. Not unreasonable. It was dismissed after a hearing, or it was just dismissed?
It was dismissed after a hearing.
Yeah. Part of your claim for filing a false restraining order is dismissed. I could actually see why you would get frightened if somebody went to your kid's school to serve you papers. Okay, what are the bills for utilities?
Can I just say something?
Sure.
I had to give her those letters in order to file for small claims.
Okay.
I had tried to mail it, and she didn't go to the post office.
I got it. Could we have the utilities? Which utility and what is it? You should have all this together for me and not make it difficult.
Okay.
This is why you were coming. Don't read out the numbers, what the utility is for what month and the amount.
So water, $257.94. Water for February was $132.09. For 12/03 bill date for electricity was $167.
What date?
12/23.
That's December.
Yes,
But that was for November.
I thought we were doing December, January.
For December, but you wouldn't have gotten December's bill in December. You would have gotten it in January.
It was prepared 12/03.
Right, but that's dealt with November. It was prepared 1203. They're not prorated. Come on, let's go.
Okay, 204, this was prepared for electricity, 7472.
Okay.
This one was for the date that I ended of 128 to 201. It was 1278 for Edison electricity.
Let's move on.
And then this is gas for 1229 to 127. It was 3704. And then the ending charges was 572.
Got it? $5.72. I can't believe it. Okay, would you add those up?
Yeah.
And your arrangement with her, Miss Henderson, was that you each paid half of the utilities. Is that right?
Yeah. Can I say something about that too? Back in April or May of 2021, I went to her to speak and ask about me paying less for water, gas, and electric because she brought all of her Airbnb laundry. She has a cleaning business. And our washers and dryers were going constantly.
And?
And she didn't meet me halfway, so I was stuck paying half.
Fine.
I have the total whenever you're ready. 507.51.
Divide it by 2.
$254.
1243 less 254. 1243 is what she's owed now, less the security deposit. I love this case. Couldn't be more excited about it.
$989.
Judgment for the plaintiff, $989.
Your Honor,
They're
I had
finished.
two
Thank you
rugs
very much.
that
We're
were
done.
ruined.
Court is adjourned.
Thank you.
Outside the courtroom, Tara, then Ellen.
It's sad that I lost, but I put up a good fight.
I'm happy with the decision.
She didn't want to live with me, that there were issues. Why would you turn in a lease to renew for a whole nother entire year with someone?
It's been a lot of stress.
I wanted her to file suit so I could see her in court in order to take care of the matter.
I had nowhere to go, and I didn't think she was going to renew, to be honest.
0 roommates. Don't do it.
I mean, I went into it thinking that this was going to be a good situation. I really got along, and I loved her and her kids, and I don't know that I could have done anything different.
Sarah and Judy.
So the new phenomenon that I've seen over this past generation, for as long as I've been in this business, is because of the economy, people having to live together that are neither in love with each other or related to each other. And I actually think, Sarah, that's such a very hard thing to do. You know, this isn't the first case that we've had that involved adults and their kids having to, for financial reasons, move in with each other. I think I've always said, and I don't know how you feel about this, that I'd rather live in a shoebox alone than with strangers in more comfortable surroundings.
Sure. I think that's a tough call that a lot of people are having to make nowadays with the cost of living and inflation.
Young people.
Young people, 2 single mothers trying to live together with their children to give them a home environment. So it's a risk that you take when you don't know the other person. Even when you do know them, we see family members fighting all the time. So I think it's a double-edged sword.
Yeah, I don't know. It's unfortunate. It's unfortunate that people have to make those kinds of choices for happiness. Shouldn't create that.
Davery and Nathan Celestine for the repair costs of an 18-wheeler truck.
Court come to order. All rise.
Judge Judy enters.
Have a seat, please.
Hello, Judge.
How are you?
Case number 2032, Shaw versus Celestine.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Shaw, these are your parents, is that right?
Yes, they are.
How old are you?
I'm 26.
Just the very broad framework of this case. You're suing your parents for money that you put into a truck that belongs to them.
Correct.
And they are counterclaiming for money that they say you owe them for a balance of a dog they purchased for you. The truck that you fixed belonged to your parents.
Yes, the agreement was...
The truck that you fixed belonged to your parents. And what I gather is that you would come into some money. Is not an answer.
Oh, yes, ma'am.
And when did you come into that money?
I never came into any money from them after I fixed
Not
the
from
truck.
them. I didn't say from them, that you came into some money. Is not an answer.
I'm sorry, yes, ma'am. I came into some
So I
money
want
in October.
you to... In October, you were not employed.
I was employed.
By whom?
Trucking.
Is that their company?
No, I was working with them and their brother.
So you were working with the family?
Yes.
Okay. That was in October,
Yes,
October
ma'am.
of 2021. It's not an answer.
I mean, yes,
is
ma'am.
an answer.
I'm sorry.
And how much did you come into?
About $10,000 for the month of September and October.
And then your father said to you, I assume, you should take some of that money and buy a 16-wheeler truck so that you...
No, ma'am.
Well, how did that happen, sir, that you got possession of your parents' truck?
So
Did you try to buy a truck on your own?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
Okay,
And
in
that
what
deal
month?
failed.
Just a second. In what month did you try to buy a truck for yourself?
January.
January of 2022?
Yes, ma'am.
And tried to buy a truck so that you could have your own truck for long hauling and business.
Yes, ma'am.
And you went to a dealer and you found the truck that you liked, but you didn't qualify for financing.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and how much is a new truck?
That truck, it wasn't new. It was a 2015, and they priced it at $60,000.
60.
Yes, ma'am.
And you told your parents about that?
Yes,
and
ma'am.
There was a discussion that they had an older truck that wasn't running.
It needed minor work.
It needed...
was told to me.
Okay, so they said to you it needs minor work. Was it running?
It was running, but the diamond seal was cracked, so eventually the truck was just going to break down completely.
Okay, so you took that truck with the understanding that you were going to repair the truck, and then what?
To make money. But
So you would repair the truck and then use it?
Yes, ma'am.
And you would keep most of the profits from using that truck? I mean, I'm trying to understand what the agreement was.
My dad, Nathan, told me that the truck was only going to be worth $4,000 to fix, which was a diamond seal. It needs some bushings. It needs something for the exhaust pipe. And I was like, okay. But when the dude kept calling me for the truck, and he was like, okay, this needs to be done.
But you took the truck into a mechanic?
Yes, ma'am.
And did they give you an estimate?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Before or after they did the work?
They gave me one before, but I don't have that estimate, but I have the one for after.
You mean after they completed the work, they sent you a bill?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, that's not an estimate. An estimate, sir, is when you go in and say, here is a truck. I want you to give me an estimate of what it is to have it fixed.
Mm-hmm.
And they give you an estimate, and then you determine whether or not you want them to do any or all of that work, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I would never bring a truck into any mechanic or to any dealership mechanic and say, fix it.
When they was calling me, telling me additional problems that was wrong, I would call them, which I have my phone records that show that I was also calling them once the dealership called me to fix the truck.
Well,
because some
just a
stuff
second.
on the truck wasn't able, like it needed a new gear, it needed new transmission was messed up on the truck.
Just
which
a second.
I
All I want is what you're telling me, that your father told you to go ahead and fix those things each time you got a call?
Yes.
Okay, so you would call him and your father would not say to you, well, how much is that to fix?
Well, yeah, he was, but I had already had a settled amount that I told him that I was willing to spend, which was $10,000.
Well, did you spend $10,000?
The truck was actually over $10,000.
I understand to fix it, but you actually spent
$10,000.
You actually spent the $10,000.
$10,900 to be exact.
To fix the truck.
Yes, ma'am.
And you have the truck.
Yes, ma'am.
And I think the truck was $13,000 to fix.
Yes, ma'am.
So you paid the additional $3,000.
Yes, ma'am.
Now the truck is running.
Yes, ma'am, it's running. It was running before, Your Honor.
But it's running now better because
ma'am.
there are...
Yes, ma'am.
Because
using it.
Just a second. I can only hear from one of you. He said the truck is in use. You said no.
It's not used, or is the truck?
No, Your Honor, I misunderstood what you said. I thought you was talking about the repair. You saying is the truck operable now? Yes, it's operable, but it's not on the road.
It's not on the road? Who
Yes,
cares
ma'am.
if it's not on the road?
Oh, yes.
The idea
Yes, ma'am.
was he was supposed to fix the truck and supposed to be able to use the truck.
Yes, ma'am.
Is he able to use the truck?
Yes, he's able to use the truck.
Okay, great. When was the last time he tried to use the truck?
He never tried to use the truck after it was fixed. He said that he no longer wanted to be a part of the deal to give him his money back.
Okay.
I have something. Now, when the truck originally got fixed in February, my dad came into town multiple times. It was one more piece that needed to be fixed, which was the ABS module, which if you get pulled over, they're gonna stop you and shut you down completely.
I don't know.
And I told him, hey, we need to get that fixed. He came into town 3 times, and I asked him, hey, is you gonna take the truck to the shop? Hey, is you gonna take the truck to the shop? He said no. And he's like, well, it don't have any insurance. And it was just a whole bunch of excuses why he couldn't take the truck to the shop.
Whether he can or he can't, he says, and your mother says you're able to use the truck.
But I don't have a CDL, so I'm not able to drive it.
Well, you didn't have that when you took it in anyway, to be fixed.
But I didn't take the truck over there. He drove the truck to the mechanic shop.
Whatever, I don't care who drove it there, but your agreement with him was you tried to buy a new truck. It was much too expensive. Your agreement with your parents was that you would take an older truck of theirs that needed a lot of work, and you took it into a mechanic, and the mechanic was going to fix the truck, make it operable, so that you would have an opportunity to use it and make money.
Yes, ma'am.
And so I'm asking you, now the truck is fixed to the tune of $13,000. When was the last time that you asked to use the truck that your parents said you can't?
Well, I asked him, can I have his dad take the truck to get the additional piece put on, and he told me no, just to wait till he come into town.
Okay.
Caption, coming up.
After the agreement that your son was going to pay the money, fix the truck, was your agreement with him that he could use it at will?
I gave him a specific time.
I'd like to hear what the specific times were.
The specific time was...
Let's make it up as we go.
No, ma'am. I'm thinking straight to you. I'm going to tell you just like it actually is.
A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Levi, Davery, and Nathan.
Levi Shaw claims his parents, Davery and Nathan Celestine, owe for the repairs of an 18-wheeler truck. Levi's parents are countersuing for the balance of an English bulldog.
Was the additional piece put on the truck that he's talking about?
No, ma'am, it didn't actually need that addition. It was an ABS modulator, which on that particular model was a 1995 FLD Classic. On that particular model, you don't need that to reset the ABS light. All you need is a sensor that goes in the hub of the wheel.
What I'm asking you is, your son said that you needed this one part. This is your business.
Yes, ma'am.
How much is that one part?
This is a part that I never researched, so I can't tell you that, but according to him...
Perhaps I didn't ask you anything. Perhaps you can tell me.
The part was $900.
That was returned back.
It was never returned because they wouldn't let me return it because it's dealing with wires. So when I asked them, can I return it, they said no. And I had a text where I texted her and I said, hey, they will not let me return this piece.
Return what piece?
The ABS module. They will not let me return it because it's electrical, and they do not accept returns on electric pieces.
So is what you're telling me that you bought this piece for $900?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and that it wasn't necessary. You didn't buy it from him.
No, but I don't know if it was necessary, but what the mechanic told me and what
you can't tell me what the mechanic told you.
Well, I'm just saying the mechanic told
No,
me
you
that
can't tell me what the mechanic told you. Well, all I'm telling you, Mr. Shaw, is you had an agreement with your parents to fix a truck and then to be able to use it. And I want to know whether they have ever denied you the right, because that was the contract that you made. You never made a contract with them that you would take a truck to the mechanic and they would pay for the repairs. You never made that contract with them. You want me to say that that was your contract with them. They say the truck is operable now and that you can use it. When do you want to use it?
Well, if they're willing to let me use it, then I want to use it as soon as possible.
Okay, and you can drive the truck?
No, I was going to hire a driver.
Okay, and the truck now is not on the road, is that correct?
That's correct. That's correct.
Yes, ma'am, that's right. That's right.
The truck is not on the road.
No, ma'am, it's not.
Is what you said, but operable.
Yes, it's not operable.
Okay, and after the agreement that your son was going to pay the money, fix the truck, and then be able to work at it so that he's getting some benefit from what he put into the truck.
Yes, ma'am.
Did you have an agreement?
I wanted to ask.
I'm not looking at you.
Okay.
Did you have a discussion with him about how much of the time he would be able to utilize the truck, or was your agreement with him that he could use it at will?
I gave him a specific time. Yes, ma'am.
I'd like to hear what the specific times were.
The specific time was...
Let's make it up as we go.
No, ma'am. I'm thinking straight to you. I'm going to tell you just like it actually is. I gave him specifically, according to him, about 3 months of when he probably needed it, to get himself together.
No, just a second. You mean he was going to spend $10,000 on fixing the truck and you were going to let him use it for 3 months?
Well,
put your hand down. I'm not talking to you.
Well, as long as he needed it. I'm going to put it that way. As long as he needed the truck.
Okay. So now that's better.
Yes, ma'am.
So that he can use the truck whenever he needs it, and he's going to get a driver. I just want to know, because we're going to have to memorialize all this in an order. What do you want?
We had a driver. My brother was the driver.
I don't care whether your brother was the driver or not. That was not the agreement that your husband said he made with his son.
Yes, ma'am.
He says he made an agreement with him that if he paid to have it fixed, he could use the truck whenever he wanted to. That's what your father says.
No, that is not that
Okay,
is not
so
true.
when did you ask to use the truck?
So in January, when I was getting the truck fixed, they told me $4,000. But as the mechanic kept calling me, adding on stuff, I said, hey, I'm not about to pay all this money, and y'all telling me I can just use it. If I'm about to put all my money into it, I want the truck. And my mom was like, okay, you can do that, because in January, they didn't make any money.
Just a second. So what you're telling me is what you said to your mother, I'm not going to put in all this money unless the truck belongs to me.
Correct.
Well, that's not unreasonable, Mr. Shaw. I can actually see that. You're spending $10,000 of your money, and you want to be able to use the truck. And you want it to be able to not have it on a whim of somebody else.
Yes, ma'am.
How old is this truck?
This truck is exactly 22 years old.
How long have you owned it?
I've owned it since I was 23 years old.
Okay, so you've owned it since it was new.
Yes, ma'am.
Did you make a living from it?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
Good. Do you have other trucks now?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
How many others?
Just one other. I'm not no big scale company. I just got one other truck, yes, ma'am.
Can I see the title to the truck, please?
To the truck we're talking about?
Yes.
I don't have that title with me.
Why not?
I was under the impression that I didn't need to bring it.
Okay, and according to you, the truck's not on the road now?
No, ma'am, it's not on the road.
Do you remember having a conversation with your son about, I'm not going to spend all this money unless the truck is mine?
Yes, ma'am, I do remember that conversation.
Do you remember where it took place?
He was driving and I was at home.
So it was over the phone?
Yes, ma'am.
Remember what month that was?
January.
January of 2022.
Correct.
Tell me what you said to him and what he said to you.
I told him, I totally understand what you're saying. I said, let me talk to your daddy and we'll see what we could do, but...
Great. As a parent, that sounds perfectly reasonable. And did you speak to your husband?
Yes, I did.
Did the two of you own the truck?
He owns the truck. It's in his name and Nathan's name.
So you said, okay, that sounds okay, let me talk to your daddy. You have to talk to the owner of the truck because
Correct.
now you're seeking to change the agreement. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And after you spoke to your mother, did you have a conversation with your father about the ownership of the truck?
Yes, we did.
And tell me when that was and what was discussed.
It was in January as well, and when I told him that, he said he totally agreed with me that if I put in majority of the money, that I can have the truck.
Okay. I want to tell you certain things sort of ring true to me. If I were a young person and spending all my money for a business, because this is the business that he was going to be in, he was going to hire a driver and he was going to take a certain amount of the profits. I could understand him saying to his parents, who now have a truck that they're not using because it's not on the road, I'm going to spend all my savings, it looks like, because the initial estimate was $4,000, but it kept going up and up and up and up and up. So if I'm going to spend all this, put your hand down. If I'm going to spend all this money, I'd like to own the truck. And in response to that, his mother said, and acknowledges that she said, it sounds right to me, I'm going to speak to your father. And according to you, you spoke to your father, and your father said, sounds okay.
Yes, ma'am.
So you went ahead and spent the money.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Caption, coming up.
Put your hand down. This
Your
is
Honor,
not
I don't
a.
understand
This is not.
Your Honor.
Some dollars
I
to
done
fix-
made over $1
to
million
fix your
with the
truck.
truck.
That's ridiculous.
I want you to stop it.
Say, man. Hey, man. How can you tell me
Now,
to stop
are
on
we
something
going-
I worked blood, sweat, and tears on? He finna take.
A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Levi, Davery, and Nathan.
Levi Shaw says his parents, Davery and Nathan Celestine, owe for the costs of repairs to an 18-wheeler truck. Levi's parents say he never used the truck, and it is still not fixed.
I'd like to see the bills for the truck.
Oh, I have it on my phone.
Well, what is that?
These was the bank statements because at first they was countersuing for insurance as well. So I was showing bank statements where I had sent them money. So
Yeah, I
that's
don't-
what these was
Yeah.
for. But I have it on my phone, but I don't have it in the statements.
Well, I need it.
Levi produces his phone, then hands it to Kevin.
Here you go.
Is that the one final invoice?
Yes, ma'am.
I'd like to see it.
And it also I have at the bottom where it says it needs the ABS
Just hold it up.
module.
Judy examines the document on the phone.
Your Honor, can I see that as well?
Yes. Well, so the entire amount is $13,000.
$13,000 and some change.
And your father paid $3,000.
Yes, ma'am.
This is not the correct invoice.
What?
I
got
have
the
the original invoice.
Fine, I'll take a look
This
at yours.
the invoice that was sent to me via, so by their email, which I can pull up their email as well.
And it shows that it's paid on the back.
Just a second.
Yes, ma'am.
It's the same thing as he showed me.
But it has our name on it.
Who cares?
The ones that he showed you, it changed since then.
But let me ask you a question.
No.
Unless I'm missing something,
No.
you're not questioning the fact that he paid $10,000 to fix the truck out of the $13,000 that the truck was. Are you questioning that?
No, I'm not
Okay,
questioning that.
then I don't know what we're talking about.
Okay.
Let's go over this one more time. When your son said to you, you know, if I'm going to spend all this money, I want to own the truck, and your wife had the same conversation with you, right? She said, I got a call from Levi. Levi said if he's going to spend all this money, he really wants the truck, and she actually thought it was okay. And what did you say, sir?
I said that I'm not going to sell you the truck.
Why?
I will let you use the truck.
No, when did you say that?
Because I have other children.
Oh, no, but
And-
your other children didn't put any money into the truck.
No, I know.
No,
what
just a
you're saying.
second. Your other children didn't put
I
any
know what
money
you're
into the
saying,
truck.
but there's like
Hand down.
he didn't
Okay.
ask me to buy the truck.
Okay.
Donna. He asked could he use it.
Just a second.
He was gonna sell it to my uncle because when the repairs got done, they actually didn't have enough money because I had $8,000 saved up. They took $4,000 of my $8,000
That you got
to pay
paid back.
Yes, but they didn't have the money, so
That's
when
not true.
you
That's
just
not
said
Mr.
you bought
Shaw,
$4,000
Mr.
from
Shaw,
me.
I don't expect you to talk to each other. I don't expect you to talk
Yes,
to him.
ma'am, I understand.
It's very easy. I believe that you changed the contract with your son from a contract where he would pay for the repairs, which was supposed to be $4,000, and then you have the use of the truck, to the fact that he was going to spend $10,000, which was all of his money. Put your hand down. I'm not. This 22-year-old truck that you've had since it was new was going to be his. And I am going to craft an order to the Department of Motor Vehicles to reissue a title in the truck to him. Do you understand? He's going to take that order. He's going to get a new registration for the car and a new ownership. Unless you want, put your hand down. This is
Your Honor,
not
I don't
a.
understand
This is not.
that, Your Honor.
It's not.
I don't understand that.
Well,
I got
but,
other
just a
children.
second,
I
do you
got
want me-
5 other
do you
kids,
want me?
man.
Do you want me to
And
say
he's
it's
spoiled,
slower?
Your Honor.
And I say, what about the $3,500 that we put into it?
You're absolutely right.
Okay.
But it wasn't $4,500, it was $3,500.
35. I'm sorry if you didn't hear me well.
Man.
You are absolutely entitled to that. I believe you are entitled to that. He put in 10, that's his truck.
I made, Your Honor, I worked all my life with that truck.
I don't care.
I worked all my.
I don't care. He's not going to spend his $10,000
I care.
on
I done made over $1 million
your
with the
truck.
truck.
That's ridiculous.
I want you to stop it.
Say, man. Hey, man. How can you tell me
Now,
to stop
are
on
we
something
going-
I worked blood, sweat, and tears on? He finna take.
I need a break.
That's the judgment. I'm not entertaining your counterclaim. That's the judgment of the
man.
court. You get title to the truck. You can retrieve it as soon as you change the registration of the truck. However, in order to do that, you have to give your parents the $3,500 that they put into the truck. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Your Honor,
Good.
what about
We're
this
done.
dog?
We're
that
done.
we
This
paying
court is
for?
adjourned.
We're done.
We
I have
paying
a
for this
question,
dog.
Judge.
No,
It's
we're
over.
done.
It's over.
Okay.
We paying for this dog, and we didn't, and he's not
over,
giving
man.
us nothing.
Let me explain something to you.
That's
The
not-
reason, let me explain something to you. The reason that I'm not hearing your counterclaim is because the two of you were disrespectful and didn't listen to me. Oh, yes, you did. That's it. We're done.
My actions of my response to what she was saying is wasn't nothing being disrespectful towards her.
I'm very glad she ruled in my favor.
It was the initial, the thought of giving up my hard-earned possessions.
It was because I did try to work it out before we came to court, and they was like, no, we're not gonna pay you nothing.
I never would have thought in a million years sue my parents, even though they, my parents whooped my butt. But that was just something you had to go through back then.
It saddens me. I'm in disbelief that my parents did that to me. I didn't think that they would do that.
I mean, I'm not sure. I don't know his plans. I can't talk that.
If you do business with family, make sure you get contracts.
You know, I sympathize with the plaintiff's position on this because modifications of contracts are supposed to be allowed when there's a change in circumstance. So it's not like he was attempting to change the contract every Friday or for no reason. He thought that it was going to be $4,000. It turned out to be $10,000 to fix the truck. And as such, he wanted a bargain for exchange. That's a lot more money than he initially intended. So that conversation makes sense to me, that conversation between his parents, that I know we had agreed to this, but now with this new new information. This is what I'm comfortable with. Is that okay?
I think so. I think that is a common sense interpretation of what happened.
For a truck that cost $60,000 20 years ago, to put in $10,000 to it is not nothing. That's a big investment.
Well, it probably isn't worth more than that. And the condition that it was in before he had it repaired, their position was
for unpaid loans and airfare.
Judy enters.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Kevin approaches.
Hello, Judge. Case number 2040, Harvey versus Kelly.
Thank you. Ms. Harvey, according to what you wrote in your complaint, you've known Mr. Kelly since college?
Yes.
And you dated in college?
Yes.
That was more than 30 years ago?
Yes.
And according to Mr. Kelly, you broke up with him in
Yes.
college. In what year was that?
Oh, gosh. That was what?
Do you remember?
92, I believe, Your Honor.
Okay.
And then somehow you reconnected. I assume you both had lives in between 1992 and 2022. When did you reconnect?
In April of 2021.
How?
Well, he was looking for me, so...
He was looking for you?
He emailed my best friend. He emailed her business and asked her, well, gave her his number and asked that I call him.
So far correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
So you were interested in seeing her again. In that 30-year period, did either of you have other people in your lives, have children, marry?
Yes.
You did?
Yes.
Okay, how long were you married?
I was married for 10 years.
Have any kids?
Yes, 2 kids.
And you, sir?
11 years. And
Have any children?
One child, yes.
Both divorced?
Yes.
Okay, that could have made an interesting love story, but didn't happen. Okay, so you wanted to reconnect with her. You got in touch with a friend of hers through a business number, and you called him?
Yes, I did.
And that was in April of 2021?
Yes.
Where did you live at the time?
Detroit, Michigan.
And you, sir?
Colton, California.
When was the first time you actually saw each other?
April of 2021.
You live in Michigan.
Yes.
But you have a child who lives in California.
I do.
How old is that child?
21.
Male or female?
Male.
And where does he live now?
With his dad.
When you come down to see him, where do you stay?
In the past, sometimes I would stay with his dad, and sometimes I would stay in a hotel.
So when you visited him, you either stayed with his father or your ex-husband?
Yes.
Or stayed in a hotel?
Yes.
Depending upon the circumstance. Most of the time, did you stay at the house with his father, or most of the time in a hotel?
Most of the time, in the past, I stayed in the house with his father.
And is this his father's only child as well?
We have 2 children together.
2 children?
Mm-hmm.
Where's the other child?
She's in Chicago, Illinois.
How old is she?
26.
So you see her less frequently than you see your son?
I probably see them about the same.
Do you go to visit her in Chicago?
Yes.
And you go to visit your son in California?
Yes.
Okay, so what I'm gathering happened is you saw each other for a while. You thought it was an exclusive relationship. You did not.
At first, yes, I did, Your Honor.
And then what happened?
The last time I saw her was in Detroit. And when I returned from Detroit, the girl that I was seeing at the time had disappeared.
You mean the girl that you were seeing prior to seeing her?
Right, exactly. And I thought the relationship was over. She went deep into Mexico, and I hadn't heard from her. She had to go for some family business. And then she resurfaced once I came back. And
Once you came back from California on your last trip?
Once I came back from Detroit.
From Detroit?
Spending time with her.
To California.
And so we started talking again, and I didn't get in contact with her. She was trying to contact me, and so
you stopped answering her calls?
No, not really. I called her, and I let her know that, you know, the girl resurfaced and that I didn't think it was going to be able to work out between me and her. And that's when the problem came along.
The problems with regard to money?
Yes.
Okay. So this is what your lawsuit is about. So you broke up with her, and at that time, according to you, you had unpaid advances to him for an airline ticket and car repairs and some small amount of money for a new grandchild that he had, some baby items. So let's start with the plane ticket. When was the plane ticket?
The plane ticket was purchased in May. It was to go and see him for his birthday.
Okay. Was this the only time that there was an airfare issue? Who paid for the airfare? Because he would drive most of the time.
He drove one time. I flew, and this was the only time that he said he would pay for the ticket. I paid the other time.
Okay, well, tell me about his discussion with you of paying for this ticket.
Sure.
In May.
So he wanted me to come for his birthday.
When is your birthday?
In June, Your Honor.
And I told him that I was looking for tickets.
He said, I want you to come for my birthday.
Yes.
No, tell me what he said.
He said...
Tell me what he said. No, don't look over there. Look over here.
He said, I'm going to fly my boo thing out.
Okay. And
later, I looked for tickets, and he said, oh, I was going to give you $500.
Okay. And you purchased the ticket, and that was in May of what year?
That was in May of 2021. We agreed that I would put the ticket on my credit card.
And when you got to his home in California, did he give you the $500?
He did not give me the $500.
When did you ask him for it again?
I didn't ask him for it while I was there.
And then?
And then when I was back home, he told me that he was going to take care of it. He said he was trying to get his money together to come to Detroit, and he was crunching numbers. And
No, I'm talking about the airline ticket.
Right. Then he said, I need to give that money to you this week, right? And I told him I had made a payment on a credit card and he could have more time. And so he said he would take care of it. He said, I'll take care of it when I'm there the 1st of August.
Did he come the 1st of August?
He came in August, yes.
Okay, and what happened in August?
He came in August. We was there. We did not have any discussion about money until he told me that his account was compromised and somebody owed him some money and didn't give him the money. And so that's when he asked for the other loan amount.
For the other amount of money? You mean he was in Michigan when he asked for more money?
Yes.
Well, when he asked for any money. You had never given him money before.
Correct.
Tell me about it.
So he sent me a text message, and he asked if I could go to the credit union and take out a loan for him.
I'd like to see that.
Sure.
Please, if it was in a text message.
Devonna produces a document, then hands it to Kevin, who brings it to Judy.
Thank you. Mr. Kelly.
Yes, Your Honor.
Can you check with your credit union and see if you could get a personal loan for $1,000 and I can make payments on it because I don't even have my gas money to get out here? And she responds, I can loan you $1,000. Is that all you need? And you respond to her, well, the $500 I'm short would be perfect if you can.
$1,500.
$1,500, excuse me. $1,500.
Yes, Your Honor.
Well, what do you think that meant?
Caption coming up.
Hey, baby, you think you can make that loan and even $2,000?
No, I'm saying the money wasn't a problem until I dumped her.
I don't care if it was a problem or not. You said it was a loan.
Exactly.
Pay careful attention. If you want a dog that guarantees you practically a nice disposition, buy a golden doodle, not a wolf.
A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Devonna and Ted.
Devonna Harvey says her ex-boyfriend, Ted Kelly Jr., owes for an unpaid loan and airfare.
Well, what do you think that meant?
That she was going to give me the money. But the reason the car was having the problems is because I drove it out there to see her.
No, it's not what this says at all.
Well, a couple days later.
Shh.
Sure.
That's not what this says at all. It says I'm in a hole. Can you go and get money from the credit union? Can you get $1,000? And she was nice, and she said to you, is that all you need? And you said, well, as long as you're going, I could actually use $1,500. That would be perfect.
Right. I didn't know that we were keeping tabs on things because I've spent money on her and never asked her for anything.
It's not a question of spending money, sir. Spending money on her is chivalrous.
She came to see me on my birthday, but I bought her gifts. And I took her to Mexico for 4 days.
7 years of college and law school. I took the bar exam. I've been a judge for over 40 years. You think I'm going to listen to you buying her a hamburger? That's not what this is about, sir.
It wasn't a hamburger.
Or a present. That's what people do. You told me, sir, that you were in an exclusive relationship until your girlfriend from Mexico resurfaced. That's what you told me. So buying each other presents is not an issue. Did you tell her?
Just like the plane tickets. I went to see her in college, and I didn't try to charge her for the plane ticket. She came to see me, and we never had that issue.
Are you talking about when you were in college?
No, I'm talking about the plane tickets. We never had an issue with me having to pay a plane ticket for her to come and see me.
I know that, but she said this one was different. This one ticket, not all the others when you visited, This one ticket, you said you wanted her to come for your birthday, and you said you would pay for the ticket.
She wanted to come, Your Honor. It
No,
wasn't I just wanted.
She said you said to her, I want you to come for my birthday. I'll pay for the ticket.
Because she had the time that she could go at any time that she wanted to. She was planning to come out here anyway because her son was here.
Well, I understand you tell me that now. Did you ask her to come out for your birthday, is my question.
Yes, probably so.
Okay. How much was the airline ticket?
$500.
Show me.
Devonna produces a document, then hands it to Kevin, who brings it to Judy. She reviews it.
$446.80.
So with bags, it was $500.
I don't care about the bags. Okay. Now, I want you to tell me about these baby items. That's the last thing on your menu.
But we didn't finish with the other.
We finished with it.
But he asked me for an additional $500 after that $1,500. 2 days later, I have that here too.
I'd like to see it, please.
Devonna produces another document, then hands it to Kevin, who brings it to Judy. She reviews it.
On Friday, August 20th, said, hey, baby, I had a question. Do you think you can make that loan in even $2,000? Because I need to get a few things done on the car. And she says, yes, but I can't get to the bank today. I can hit the ATM on my way home. Okay, that's fine.
Right.
What was that?
And there was never nothing said about a time limit or nothing until I got back.
Hey, baby, you think you can make that loan and even $2,000?
No, I'm saying the money wasn't a problem until I dumped her.
I don't care if it was a problem a lot. You said it was a loan.
Exactly. And when I told her I'd pay her back, she didn't hear from me, so then now we're here.
I don't know what you're talking about. That's a lot of mumbo-jumbo gibberish. Okay, $2446.88. Now tell me about the baby items.
So he asked me...
When?
Text message, that was...
When?
In July 8th, I'm sorry.
So this was before you loaned him the other money?
Yeah.
Okay, so in July...
He asked me, did I have Cash App? And I told him I did, because I thought, and I gave him my Cash App handle because I thought he was trying to pay me the airline ticket. But he said, no, the problem was that he didn't have Cash App, and he was trying to get his son's baby's mother some money and wanted to know if I could send it for him because I had Cash App.
How much money did he need for his son's
There were
girlfriend?
2 occasions. One was $60 and one was $50.
Do you recall that, Mr. Kelly?
I don't recall her not getting the money for that. I didn't do it because he wasn't in the area where I can give it to him, and I didn't have Cash App, and she sent it on the Cash App, but I gave her the cash for that.
And that was in July?
Yes, while I was still there.
He never gave me any cash.
I don't think so either, because then you borrowed all this money the next month.
He also asked for a Western Union.
$25.56. Just for my own curiosity, sir, are you still with the girlfriend who disappeared to Mexico?
Yes.
Yes, you live together?
No.
Okay, well, it wasn't the ending that perhaps you all envisioned, but you borrowed this money from her, sir, and you have to return it. $25.56, judgment for the plaintiff. Thank you.
This court is adjourned.
Devonna.
Obviously, I'm happy.
Well, technically, yeah, it was a loan,
Judge saw through what he was trying to say. I don't know what he was trying to say.
but I spent money on her, and I never kept tabs on it.
Oh my gosh, he just asked me for a lot of money.
I wasn't in love with her, and somebody else came back from the past.
No, I just want my money, and I told him that. I just want my money.
Sarah and Judy.
So I'm curious, Judge, the ratio of cases that you've seen of women loaning men money versus the other way around, men loaning women, their girlfriends, money.
I think I would have to go with 80-20.
I would agree.
This woman has somebody who's reasonable. He, on the other hand, she was okay until his girlfriend from Mexico resurfaced, and he broke up with her. I think he probably was hurt all the years from college that she broke up with him, because he talks about it in his answer. But women really have to be smarter.
Invested in yourself would be my best advice for women.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. You invest in yourself.
Yeah.
Case number 2045, Vervick versus Baez. All parties, please step forward.
Howard Verbrick is suing his former customers, Angela and Jimmy Baez, for loss of income and the cost of a wolf dog.
Mr. Verbrick, what do you do for a living?
I'm an auto mechanic.
Who do you live with?
Myself.
When did you get into breeding and selling wolf dogs?
Approximately 8 years ago.
Why?
I found the animals fascinating.
Whitney shakes her head. Caption coming up.
Why would any normal person want to own with 219 breeds or more in this country, in the world of dogs, why would you take a dog that is in part, and you don't know what part, wild wolf?
A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Howard, Angela, and Jimmy.
Howard Verbrick claims his former customers, Angela and Jimmy Bias, owe for the cost of a wolf dog. Angela and Jimmy are countersuing for harassment.
This is your case. The defendants purchased one of your puppies several years ago.
One, yes.
And a couple of years later, according to you, they were looking for a second dog.
Yes.
Did they contact you?
Yes.
By phone?
Through messaging.
Which you have?
Yes.
Okay. And I will take a look at it at an appropriate time. That they were looking for, I think they were looking for a male, they had had a female.
Correct.
And you were prepared to accommodate that. Did you give them the price for the dog?
Yes.
What was that?
At the time, it was $800.
And after certain discussions with them, was that price ever modified?
Yes, it was.
To what?
Angela thought that the $800 was a little expensive, and
How much had they paid for the first dog?
$500.
Okay.
The reasoning being they helped me sell some.
No, just years before, they had paid $500. You were asking $800 for this male.
It was $800 back then also. Under the circumstances, if they helped me sell animals, then I would give them a deal.
Did they do that for you the first time that
Yes,
they?
ma'am.
So the first time that they bought a puppy from you, they paid $500 and assisted you in finding owners for other puppies.
Correct.
Is that correct?
Yes. Yes.
Second time, you asked for $800.
Yes,
And then did you make the same deal with them?
I did.
How many puppies did you have?
At the time, I had 6.
Did they come over and see the puppies?
No.
Isn't that usual to come over and pick one, unless you only had one male?
Sometimes. I've sold other people animals throughout the United States by pictures only and updated photographs.
On what date did you go and pick up your puppy?
He dropped the puppy off to us on, I think it was March 22nd.
How far does he live from you?
About 40 miles, 30
So you
miles.
could have easily gone to see the litter.
Yes, correct.
So you chose for him to drop the puppy off.
Well, he kind of messaged us, and we had a phone conversation where he stated that he couldn't feed the puppies anymore.
No, that's not what I'm asking you. I know you have a script that you want to tell me about because you have something in your head, but that's not what I asked you. What I asked you was you could have gone to look at the litter of puppies.
Correct.
And picked out which one you wanted.
Correct.
You chose to have him deliver it to you.
Yes.
That was my question. He delivered to you a male puppy. How old was the puppy you delivered to them?
Approximately 9.5 weeks.
I don't know if that's an appropriate time for wolf dog puppies, but 10 weeks is a reasonable time to separate puppies from the litter and their mother. I know that that's not what I went to law school for, but you require a certain amount of nonsense information over the course of a lifetime. Anyway, did they pay you for that dog?
No.
What was the arrangement?
According to Angela, I got 3 different amounts. She was going to give me a $100 deposit and $100 a week, a $150 deposit, then $100 a week, and a $200 deposit and $100 a week. I got nothing.
At what purchase price?
She was thinking the $500 when I was asking the $800.
That's not what I said. Did you ultimately make an arrangement with her for $500 if she helped you find other pet owners? Okay, let's be direct. So you agreed to make them the same deal with this dog as you made with the last.
Correct.
Which is, I'll give you if you help find other potential prospects for the other puppies.
Correct.
So purchase price was $500, and they did find you other people for the puppies.
1, yes.
Well, they found one. It wasn't specified. They found one. And did you place that puppy?
Yes.
This is what your lawsuit is about. You say that she didn't pay you any money, and the people who you placed the other dog with did not finish paying you.
Correct.
Well, they're not responsible for that person. They're not responsible for that person unless you gave them the dog in order to collect the money. Okay. Or did you drop the puppy off?
I dropped the puppy off at their house.
Then that's your problem. Okay. So then what we're dealing is the $500 that you claim they owe you for the dog.
Well, plus potential loss of income.
Oh, no, yeah, that'd be ridiculous. Okay, $500. Let me hear your excuse.
I think that the dog has been abused, and I have video proving.
And?
The mail won't ever come around.
Just a second, and?
The male does not like males. What he'll do is he will cower at the sight of any male. He's very aggressive when he goes to take food from you.
He was 10.5 weeks old.
We've had him for 8 months now, and we still can't touch him.
But you got him, and he was 9.5 weeks old.
And he's still the same.
You got him when he was 9.5 weeks old. So that's not a reason not to pay for him. You still have him.
He needs proper care, and we don't feel like we should pay anything.
No.
Not with what we have to deal with the dog emotionally and everything else.
Well, unfortunately, the law does not agree with you. You agreed to pay him $500 for a dog. You have the dog, and you have to pay him the $500 for the dog. That's it. It's an easy case. That was your contract. You didn't make a contract with him for a dog that had a nice disposition. Just pay careful attention. If you want a dog that guarantees you practically a nice disposition, buy a golden doodle, not a wolf. Buy a golden doodle.
Gotcha.
Buy a Shih Tzu. You want a big dog? What's another big dog?
Golden retriever.
Buy a golden retriever. But if you people are odd enough to think that wolf dogs make good pets, not knowing, because I did a little investigation into wolf dogs, are wolf dogs good pets? Because I get my cases early, and I say, why would any normal person want to own, with 219 breeds or more in this country, in the world of dogs, why would you take a dog that is in part, and you don't know what part, wild wolf? Why would you do that? If your animal is aggressive, go look at its history, because sometimes they'll grow up to be friendly, nice dogs, like the first one you had.
First one I have is very well with our kids.
You know, this one, I'm going back to my wolf roots. Well, so it's judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $500. Your counterclaim's dismissed. We're done. Thank you.
This court is adjourned.
Jimmy.
We more or less rescued this dog.
The dog had no issues before.
He cowers down to any side of a male.
That's just a totally false statement.
It's to the point where he's got to get a trainer.
I hope that it is taken care of, and if they don't want the animal, I'd be glad to take it back and care for it.
We're going to work with him. Yeah, we're not going to let him go.
Judy and Sarah.
Just another example of people who maybe not, looked into the history of a dog, a wolf dog.
Mm-hmm.
And if you read about it...
I did a little before the case.
Yeah.
Court come to order. All rise.
Judy enters.
Be seated, everybody.
Kevin.
Hello, Judge.
How are you, Kevin?
Case number 2015, Moss versus Jury.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Moss, prior to leasing an apartment with the defendant, had you known each other?
Sort of.
Tell me a sort of.
So we met one time about a year prior. We have mutual friends, one of which had asked me to get ordained to marry her and her husband. So I flew in town to do that, and Nadine was there at their house when I flew in. We saw each other for a few minutes, and that's actually the only time we've ever met in person.
And there came a time when you were looking for an apartment where?
I was looking for an apartment in the Salt Lake area.
And where had you been living?
In Seattle.
And where were you living, Miss Jury?
In Salt Lake City.
You were looking to move?
Yes.
So other than that one-time meeting when you were officiating at a mutual friend's wedding, you hadn't met before, but somebody suggested that you were looking for an apartment, you were looking for a new apartment, and perhaps you could rent an apartment together.
Yes, that's
fair statement?
In fact.
Yes, Your Honor.
And in what month and year did that happen?
It would have been in October of 2020 that this arrangement sort of came to be like, hey, maybe you should see if Nadine...
Okay, but you did, in fact, sign a lease together. Who found the apartment?
Nadine did.
You did. Prior to signing the lease, Mr. Moss, had you seen the apartment?
No.
No is the answer. Did you ever see the apartment, other than videos or photographs of it?
No, I never saw
Prior
the
to
apartment.
signing the lease?
Correct.
Also correct?
Correct.
On what date was the lease signed?
On the 7th of November of 2020.
The rent on the apartment was how much?
It was $585 a month each.
$1,170, Your Honor.
So $585 per month each. You both signed it on the same day. Did you move in?
I did.
On what date?
November 8th.
And you were still in Seattle?
Correct.
Did you ever move into the apartment?
Never.
Okay, and that is also correct?
Correct.
Because for whatever reason, you decided to stay in Seattle?
Correct.
Is that work-related or socially?
Social.
And then you contacted her and told her that you weren't intending to move in.
Correct.
But that you would continue to pay your half of the rent. Is that also correct?
Correct, Your Honor.
And you were making a direct deposit to the account to pay the rent?
Yeah, it was an automatic payment from my account to the rental.
To the rental office?
Yes, to the rental office.
Then you came to find that Miss Jury had stopped paying her portion of the rent. When did you stop making payments on your portion of the rent?
In January.
So you paid either full or partial for November because you moved in on the 8th, and you paid December's rent.
Correct.
And you stopped paying rent in January. Why?
I lost my job in December of 2020.
So I'm going to outline now what this case is about.
Yes.
Mr. Moss continued paying his half of the rent until you found a roommate.
Correct.
And you found a roommate when?
I believe I found him in February, and he moved in the month of March and started paying his half of the rent.
So you didn't pay rent January or February,
Correct.
2 months.
Correct.
And you had no work.
Correct.
When you found out that the rent wasn't being paid, according to you, in order to not impact your credit, you spoke to her. She said, I don't have a job. You said, I can help you out. I'll send you money. Mm-hmm. Is that generally what happened? Then I'll get into...
That's generally what happened, but there is a little more detail to it.
I'm going to let you get to the details.
All right.
And you want that money back. The money that you advanced her in her time of need, which was how much in total?
The total is $3,360. She did at some point pay me $300 back, so the amount I am seeking is $3,060.
Okay. Are those figures accurate?
Yes.
And he gave you that money, not because you were good friends, because you were a relative. He had met you one time.
Right.
And he had, in fact, said to you, I will continue to pay my rent, even though I know you from hole in the wall. I will continue because I signed this lease until you find someone to get me off the lease.
That's correct, Your Honor.
And your defense, it seems to me, to this action is that he was really trying to scam the government by depleting his bank account so he could collect food stamps or whatever.
No.
And as a result of that, because he wasn't being honest with the government, you shouldn't have to pay him back. I just want to know if that's what I'm reading correctly.
There was never an agreement
to
pay back.
That's a different story. I'm going to read this over because, you know, I'm getting elderly, and I may not have recalled exactly what you said in your answer.
Judy looks down at a document.
It doesn't say that here. It says several months later, it's after you found a new roommate, Emmett randomly reached out to me saying that I owed him money and demanded that I take out a personal loan to pay it. I refused. Emmett has some nerve. Not only did he break the lease, well, what difference does that make to you? He still was paying his half of the rent. So now you had a whole apartment by yourself and he was paying the rent, right? So why does he have some nerve? But he took advantage of me and used me to scam the system. So that's what I understand your defense is.
It is. I have video evidence, Your Honor.
Video of what?
Of Emmett.
Of Emmett what?
Of Emmett explaining why he was trying to get on assistance and how he was like, it's fine for you to pay rent with this money because I'm trying to empty my bank account so that I can get on food stamps.
It is true.
Okay, just a second. Just a second. Let's say that's true. He's going. I'm just trying to. Shh.
Caption coming up.
I furnished the down payment for the car.
Okay, so you bought 2 cars.
No, just one. I didn't have a vehicle at the time.
Oh, you know, I'm not believing you, sir. I'm really not buying this whole story.
A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Emmett and Nadine.
Emmett Moss claims his former friend, Nadine Drury, owes for unpaid loans. Nadine says Emmett broke the lease they were both on.
I'm just trying to get your mindset. You know, I hate people who scam the system. But you got this money from him. And your defense is that he was trying to scam somebody else, so you shouldn't really have to pay him back, even though it was his money.
It was his money.
It was his money that he took out of his bank and gave to you.
Right.
For no reason.
That I never agreed to pay back for a lease that he was legally on. He's responsible for that rent money no matter what.
You mean so you get to live there free?
No,
Well, just a second. So you get to live there free. If he paid for it for the months that you didn't, you got to live there free. He wasn't even living there. It's not as if he was living there and you didn't get to live there free. You lived there alone. And he was paying the rent.
Yes.
Well, why do you think you're not responsible for that once you get back on your feet?
We never talked about a repayment.
No.
That's not
okay. Now,
we definitely talked about repayment.
Now, I want you to explain to me and be very careful because, you know, I've been in this system a very long time. So I know about social services and I know about the system and I know about welfare and I know about food stamps. I know all about that. So you contact her.
Yes.
And she tells you she lost her job.
Yes.
Let's pick it up from there.
Okay. So I found out through the payment portal that she hadn't paid rent.
Yeah, we're past that.
Okay.
We're
I
past
contacted
that.
her about that. Well, there was.
Don't look up.
Apologies. I sent her money that night.
No. You contacted the portal, and then you had to have had a conversation with her.
Right.
If you tell the truth, you don't have to have a good memory. Let's start with you contacted the portal, and you found out she hadn't been paying her rent. That was in January.
Correct. January the 2nd.
And January, she hadn't paid rent, and you called her, and she said to you...
She said to me that she didn't have money to pay, which I was aware of because she had previously told me that she I was aware that she had lost her job.
Just a second. How did you become aware that she had lost her job?
Because we were friendly with each other. We were talking several times a week via Facebook Messenger.
Fine. You knew that she lost her job.
Yes.
And I assume you knew if she lost her job and you were speaking several times a week. Let's be very careful. This isn't just calling the pay portal and finding out that this stranger who you met once wasn't paying her rent. You were speaking and you knew that she had fallen on difficult times. And?
I did. I didn't...
Don't go up here. Right here.
I didn't know that she wasn't going to pay rent on time.
No, just a second. You didn't know what?
On the 2nd was when I found out that the rent hadn't been paid.
On the 2nd of January?
On the 2nd of January.
Just look at me. On the 2nd of January, you found out the rent hadn't been paid. What did you do?
So I called Nadine to ask about it, and she told me that she didn't have the money. And so I said, okay, I have these extra funds because I, at the time, was also unemployed. I had been taking payments, unemployment payments, and then the COVID payments.
And what?
The extra payments for COVID on top of unemployment, because this was 2020.
Welcome to Inflation 101.
Right. So all of my payments had been late and had come in a lump sum. So that is why I had
So your
money.
unemployment and your COVID funds
Yes.
came in one lump sum.
Correct.
And I want you to think very, very carefully. And you're living where, sir?
Seattle.
With whom?
At the time, I was seeking a roommate.
No. Where were you living?
So I was living in Seattle.
In Seattle with whom?
No one.
By yourself?
Yes. Technically, someone was paying rent because they had moved out.
You know, you're looking up at the sky.
Sorry.
Don't look up at the sky. So somebody had moved out of their apartment,
Yeah.
which had been prepaid in rent.
Yes.
So you were living there rent-free.
No. This was my apartment that I'd lived in for 3 years. And someone else had moved in and then moved out. And they broke the lease, not me.
They broke the lease, but they paid the rent.
Correct. They paid their half. I was still paying my half of rent. I never defaulted on my rental payments in Seattle ever.
And they were still paying theirs.
Yes, so we were both each paying our respective parts of the rent. And I was paying rent in Utah.
And you were paying rent where the defendant was living. Okay. So I want you to think very carefully. When you got your unemployment and your extra COVID money in a lump sum, how much did you get?
What?
No, don't look over there. You know exactly how much you got.
Yeah.
You don't have to think about it. Just give me a number.
$10,000.
Well, that should last you for a little bit. And you got $10,000 on what date?
I don't remember.
Month.
It would have been in November.
Okay, so now she's run out of funds, and you say to her, go ahead.
By the time we get to January, I do not have $10,000. I have much less because of other circumstances.
Like what?
Like needing to purchase a car for the girlfriend that I stayed in town.
A car?
Yes.
And what else?
Rental payments. That's it. Nothing.
You bought your girlfriend a car?
I did. Her car that she had was a beater, and it was unsafe.
I don't care. What about your car?
I did use a down. I furnished the down payment for the car.
Okay, so you bought 2 cars?
No, just one. I didn't have a vehicle at the time.
Oh, you know, I'm not believing you, sir. I'm really not buying this whole story. You're living by yourself with a roommate. The roommate moves out. Your girlfriend had a terrible car. You don't live with the girlfriend.
Don't.
But you bought her a car. You didn't have a car, but you bought her a car.
I had, if we need to back it up, I had given up my car in a bankruptcy earlier in the year because of...
In whose bankruptcy?
My bankruptcy.
Your bankruptcy.
That is why I didn't have a car.
It's getting better all the time. Okie dokie.
It was an interesting year.
That doesn't mean you don't owe money. It just means I have to know the characters that I'm dealing with.
I understand, Your Honor.
Okay.
Caption coming up.
While you were going to the program, which you said it was in person, were you getting any government assistance that was connected to this trade school? That's either a yes or a no.
A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Emmett and Nadine.
Emmett Moss has accused his former friend, Nadine Drury, of refusing to pay back loans. Nadine claims she was used by Emmett to scam the government.
So now you've got much less money from the $10,000. You bought your girlfriend a car, you had to pay her rent, you paid your own rent, you had other things from bankruptcies that you had before, so you have a little bit of money left in the bank.
Yes.
Go ahead.
So
don't look over there, right here. No, look,
that evening of the 2nd, I paid Nadine a total of $710, enough to cover the rent of $585, any fees it would cost her to go and withdraw that money from the bank, and she also asked for extra money for groceries.
Just a second. You acknowledge a $3,000 amount of money that he gave you. Am I right?
Yes.
Yes.
You say that
That
that's correct.
includes the money that he's saying that he spent on rent, that he gave me for rent, and he's also asking for his deposit.
I am asking for my
The
deposit.
deposit for the apartment back.
Okay, well, he's entitled to that. You have a new roommate who I'm sure you got a deposit from.
She chose to not
And if you didn't?
collect a deposit from
What?
the roommate.
Well, that's her problem because
I
she's
agree.
going to get the deposit back.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's reasonable. She's going to get the deposit back when she leaves. When you leave, if you leave the place in good condition, he was never living there, so if you don't leave it in good condition, then it's on you. I want to know about this video that she wants me to look at where you tell us some sort of a scheme you have to get more money from the government.
It wasn't a scheme.
Why don't you tell me about it? So far, we got $10,000 that was supposed to last you for 6 months, and you blew it on a coffee a girlfriend. And so you may not call it a scheme. I want you to tell me why you had to have a zero bank account.
I didn't have to have a zero bank account.
A more limited access to money. What were you applying for, sir?
So
not so up here, so here.
Okay. I was applying for a program to go into the trades. So it was like a work study program, like electrician, plumber, that sort of thing. And again, I didn't have a job, and unemployment had completely stopped. And as far
How many years did you collect unemployment?
It was less than 1 year.
How many years had you worked?
How many years have I worked?
Yeah.
I've been working since I was 16. So
Well,
it's
I'm
been
surprised
14.
the unemployment totally ran out because they kept extending unemployment. People were on unemployment for years during COVID.
When they cut me off December of 2020, they did not reestablish my claim. I kept applying and it was denied. So I don't know why, but it was.
What kind of work do you do now?
I work for customer service.
Okay. And the trade school that you wanted to go to was to prepare you for what?
To be an electrician was what I wanted to do.
An electrician?
Yes.
And was this an online program?
No, this was in person.
Where?
It was in Seattle.
And how much did they give you to go to that program?
They didn't give me money to go to the program, but the program was free of charge.
Okay. So the government paid the tuition?
I believe that
Well, somebody pays the tuition, sir.
Yeah.
So the government pays the tuition. And while you were going to the program, which you said it was in person, how were you supporting yourself?
So...
Were you getting any government assistance that was connected to this trade school? That's either a yes or a no.
Yes, I applied for food stamps and got food stamps. That is what I got.
So you applied for some sort of assistance while you were going to this trade school, which you're not practicing now, and you're not an electrician.
That is correct.
And in order to apply for food stamps, you have to have a certain amount of money is the maximum you can have in your bank.
That is correct.
Okay. So that's the fraud you're talking about. That's why he gave you the money.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
I mean,
just a second.
I also gave her the money because she was going to need the money for rent. Like, it was one of those situations where it was mutually beneficial for me to give her the money, but it wasn't.
You're looking up at the sky. I understand what happened.
So I wasn't going to have any way to support myself. I needed something to. The $2,000 was going to cover the rent for my place and my place in Seattle and my place in Utah, and then I wasn't going to have anything left.
I understand that it became mutually beneficial for you to advance her the money so that your bank account would have less in it so that you could receive assistance and also get free tuition at a trade school that you didn't use.
My intention was to use it, and I changed my decision later.
Do you think the trade school charged the government once you enrolled in it?
Yes.
Yes, of course they did. And you know how much the tuition was in the trade school? Yes, you have to know. No, it was free to you, but it wasn't free to the government.
Right,
The government pays.
$1,500 was what I was made to understand.
Baloney. You people really somehow deserve each other, but you owe him $3,000. Madam, judgment for the plaintiff. We're done.
This court is adjourned.
I'm a little bit shocked to be made out as a government scammer.
I mean, I lost my job and I wasn't able, and he bailed on the lease that he signed.
Because that wasn't ever my intentions.
I mean, I was alone. I had lost my job. I just didn't have any support.
Definitely careful about getting money from the government.
Just glad it's done. Glad I don't ever have to see him again.
Haven't had to do that since this whole situation, and I intend to keep it that way.
Sarah and Judy.
You know, it's so unfortunate because the plaintiff looked like an intelligent enough man, able-bodied, seemingly, and he spent a lot of time, effort, brain power.
Court come to order. All rise.
Judy.
Have a seat, please.
Hello, Judge. Case number 2008, Delano versus Taylor.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Briefly, and then I'll get into specifics. You sold over the internet some wigs. You claim you sold them to the defendant.
Yes.
They were charged on a credit card. According to you, it was the defendant's credit card. You shipped the wigs. The defendant, according to you, received the wigs, then challenged the credit card charge, and the charge was reversed so that you did not get your money. And Miss Taylor kept the wigs. It is Miss Taylor's claim that you never sold her the wigs, that you sold the wigs to clients of hers, and if they didn't pay you, that's not her problem. Is that your defense?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, yes, ma'am. Stop jumping up and down because it makes me seasick.
Okay.
Stand still. I can't. You can't. You want a stool to sit on?
No.
You sure?
I just have anxiety.
Okay. Ms. Diallo, how long had you been in the online wig business?
3 years now.
And on what date did Ms. Taylor contact you?
October 1st of 2021.
Had you ever dealt with her before?
I haven't. A customer of mine actually referred her to me.
You had not dealt with her before?
Correct.
And her first order was for what?
A 34-inch deep wave wig unit.
I don't know what that is. Tell me how much it cost you.
$391.
And how much did you charge Miss Taylor?
$491.96.
And you shipped it to her?
No, I didn't.
Where did you ship it?
Right now, I didn't ship anything at the moment.
Okay, so she ordered the first one for $491.
Yes, and then after that, I shipped after.
How many did she order all in total?
In total, 5.
Within what period of time?
In the span of 4 days.
Okay, and Miss Taylor, you do not deny the fact that 5 wigs were ordered in a conversation over the internet with the plaintiff. Uh-huh is not an answer.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you have a copy of those orders?
Yes, ma'am.
I'd like to see them, please.
Fatoumata hands a document to Kevin, who brings it to Judy. She reviews it.
Who's Joyce?
One of my clients.
Your Honor, that's her.
Shh. Do you have a MasterCard?
No, ma'am.
Did you ever?
No, ma'am.
Do you have any credit card?
Yes, ma'am.
How long has Joyce been a client of yours?
Probably about a year.
When you say she's a client of yours, she comes to your salon?
Yes.
You have a
my
salon?
apartment. No, I have to do my hair out of my apartment.
So she comes to your apartment?
Yes, ma'am.
And how do you know when she wants to come for an appointment?
She'll text me. She'll DM me.
Okay, so she texts you, which means she texts you from a phone.
Right.
Which means that you have your phone, which shows her text messages.
Not.
What do you mean, not? If she texts you for an appointment, then you know how to contact her.
Yeah.
And she knows how to contact you. I want to see that. I want to call her.
I don't have that phone anymore.
Get it. You have to understand where I'm going. Do you understand?
Yes.
Yes, you understand where I'm going. Who is that?
My boyfriend.
Your boyfriend. What does he have to do with this?
Because he was at the house when her and someone else came to the door.
I don't care.
Okay.
If I were coming to court today and I knew that there was going to be a certain amount of proof that involved some person who is named Joyce, and order confirmation email was sent to Joyce at your email address.
Right.
Right. And Joyce is somebody who was a client of yours for a year, not too long ago, who's no longer a client of yours. Not uh-huh. Uh-huh isn't an answer. Yes is an answer.
Ma'am.
But you can't give me her number to call because you lost your phone.
Yes. And she blocked me after I start asking her about the dispute.
Well, just a second. Well, that's 2 different things. You see, if she may have blocked your number, she won't block my number. That's not what you told me. You told me you don't have that phone anymore.
I don't.
Well,
and she blocked me.
How do I know that?
Her. I don't know.
How do I know that?
Did.
Yeah, right. Okay. Dora Dynasty, is that your?
Yes, that's my business.
That's your business. Well, these wigs were sent to Dora Dynasty.
Right.
Right, I know right. And who is?
A client.
And is still your client?
No.
No. Okay, you seem to be having a lot of trouble in your business.
How?
Yeah.
I've been having this trouble ever since the wigs have got delivered, and she hit me about a dispute.
Judy smirks.
Let me explain something to you. You purchased the wigs based upon her conversation.
I got them sent to my house.
Just pay careful attention to me. They were all delivered to you.
Right.
That means you bought them. If somebody stiffed you, that's not her problem. But according to her, and you acknowledge that she sent you 5 wigs, and the is not an answer. Do you understand? You following me? Okay. What was the total value of her purchase?
$21.96.
And can I see the reversal of that charge on your credit card?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, at some point, your credit card was charged. At some point, your credit card was charged. That's either a yes or a no.
No.
Whose credit card was charged?
My client's.
Which client?
I'm not sure. Whichever wig she said was disputed.
You said in your answer you kept all the wigs.
No, I didn't. I didn't keep all the wigs. They got delivered to my house. 2 of them I installed, and the rest they picked up.
Judy reads Kanaya's response.
The wigs got shipped directly to my salon.
The wig shipped to my apartment because I was going to do their hair. I told them about the vendor.
Are you trying to tell me that despite the records that she has, that you were the contact person on all of this,
right?
Nobody else,
right?
Just you,
right?
That you gave these wigs to somebody else,
They
to 4 other
paid
people.
for 'em.
They paid who?
They paid her. They paid for the wigs and they got them shipped to my house.
Were 4 different people charged for the wigs?
Yes.
4 different people?
Yes. She did 5 different transactions.
Are you telling me that the 5 different transactions were all her?
All her.
That makes my life easy. So what you're saying to me, she charged it on 5 different cards.
Yes.
No, I didn't.
But she is all of those people.
All of them.
How?
I'd like to see it.
Please.
Fatoumata looks through her documents.
And Your Honor, she also admits it on Twitter. She doesn't actually know I have her Twitter account. And this is how she gets them. She orders,
May I see it, please?
Caption, coming up.
See how you're smiling? Bad. She should have left you home.
Man, please.
Do you understand? She should have left you home.
Nah, they just ain't
You
communicating
should have left
right.
you home.
They ain't communicating right.
Still not a good look from you.
A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Fatoumata and Kanaya.
Fatoumata Diallo claims salon owner Kanaya Taylor owes for the cost of 5 wigs.
What's Beauty?
That's her business name. Business Twitter.
I don't have a Twitter.
Right.
I have an Instagram, 2 of them.
I have
and a business page. That's what I have. I don't have a Twitter. Do you have my Instagram?
I do.
Don't talk to each other. Don't ask her any questions.
Judy reviews a document.
That's so interesting.
What?
From Dora Salon, is that it? Or Dora Salon?
Yes, ma'am.
No.
I have her LLC.
Just a second, yeah. Can I see that?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's Dora Dynasty.
And here's her LLC, so it matches.
I'd like to see it.
And here you go as well.
Fatoumata hands documents to Kevin.
Well, this is from Beauty at...
No.
What do you mean, no?
No, my business name is Dora Dynasty.
Yeah. Dora Salon 1 Beauty, Dora Dynasty LLC, Dora's Dynasty.
Right.
And about the same time, the tweet is over 2,000 in wigs. I'll smack those. And then on the 13th, you write, my wigs come tomorrow. And then on October 11th, I'll be wrong if I dispute it once I get it. And then I don't know what did the...
Because,
what is,
ma'am,
just a sec, I'm reading something. Is not an answer. I didn't ask you anything. What does that mean, Sarah?
It's just an emoji. Like, so what? I don't care.
Oh, I'll be wrong if I dispute it once I get it. So what? But it was so rude I can't even ask them questions, telling me I didn't read it. And then she writes, see how you're smiling? Bad. She should have left you home.
Man, please.
Do you understand? She should have left you home.
Nah, they just ain't
You
communicating
should have left
right.
you home.
They ain't communicating right.
I paid all this money for these wigs and these slow rolling. Wow. I assume that those people, the clients that you were talking about, was slow rolling. Would that be a fair statement? I mean, I'm not familiar with all of this. And then you show me in these tweets, or whatever they call them, a picture that was put up by Boo. Is that a name?
Yes.
Now, what is that?
That's her client actually contacting me and telling me that she's charged her for the wigs and that she was never a stylist to begin with.
How did I upcharge the fee when they paid for it themselves?
Nobody hears you, madam. Okay, so you acknowledge you got them. Your statement is you no longer have them. She didn't make a deal with you. She made a deal with 4 other phantom clients, 2 of whom either you lost your phone, the dog ate your phone, you don't have the number anymore, you don't have the contact anymore, but we don't know how to get in touch with him. And then there was somebody that actually was wearing one of the wigs that she didn't get paid for, that she got from you.
That's not true.
Could I see the invoice and the chargeback, please?
Yes.
Fatoumata produces documents.
Still not a good look from you.
Well, I'm glad.
Yeah, not a good look.
It's funny because it's not true.
Not a good look.
She hands the documents to Kevin, who brings them to Judy.
You the boyfriend?
Yeah.
Stand up for a minute. Just have a couple of questions. Tell me your name.
Braylon, right?
What do you do for a living?
I'm a barber.
Do you live together?
Yes.
How long have you lived together?
Going on a year.
So you were living with her when these wigs were delivered?
Yeah. Yes.
Yes, would be an answer. Were you there when she opened the wigs?
One wig she had to put together for a client. Then she opened, she told me she was doing, I know her. I don't be in no business like that.
So the answer is you were only there when one wig was delivered?
I was only there when she opened one wig.
When she opened one.
And I took her to go pick up a wig from her.
Did you drive her there?
Yeah.
Did you go in with her?
No. She came outside. She walked across the street and got it.
Don't speak. Don't speak. She walked across the street and got it.
From her, yeah. Downtown.
Your Honor, she was actually driving.
Do you work out of the apartment as well?
No.
You work out of a shop?
Yes.
Are you ever there when your girlfriend is working on clients in your house, in your apartment?
Yeah, I've been there.
Often?
Not really, I be gone. Working hours, I'm working. If she work at the house, I'm working at the shop.
How many rooms are in the place where you and the defendant live?
At the time, we was in a two-bedroom apartment.
And who was there, just the two of you?
No, we had a roommate.
So you had one bedroom for yourselves, you had a roommate, and then there was a common area, kitchen, living room, right?
Yes.
Where did she conduct her salon business, in what room?
What it would be like dining room area connected.
In the dining.
Yeah.
And is that where she kept her equipment?
Yes.
Is that where she kept her materials?
Yes.
How many wigs did you see in that dining room area at any one time during the time you were living there?
Maybe one she was working on the door, two, maybe two at the most.
You paid rent in the apartment?
Did I pay rent? Nah.
Did she pay rent?
Yes.
How much?
It was like, what, $1,200?
Don't ask her anything.
$1,200. I don't pay the rent, $1,200. I don't pay it, so I don't know.
Why don't you pay anything towards rent?
I don't have to pay the rent if I pay the bills, I pay car notes, I pay different stuff. We 50-50.
Well, if it's 50-50, then you would also pay part of the rent.
Not if it add up to both our car notes, rent, which really be a little bit more.
Okay, so you pay the other bills, she pays the rent.
I moved in with her. I ain't lived there the whole time. I told you it only be like a year. She was already staying there. I moved in.
With what did you pay the car note? With a check?
No, I pay with either a car or my money.
Your girlfriend, does she have a car?
Does she have a car?
Yes, yes or a no?
Not right now, she did.
Did she?
Yes.
What kind of a car did she have?
Chevrolet Sonic.
And what happened to that car?
It got, whatever, repoed.
It was repossessed.
They was scamming me on my insurance.
Just a second. I didn't ask you anything. I'm asking your witness.
Okay.
You brought him.
All right.
Caption, coming up.
I'm not the only person you suing. If I pulled up
nobody
and bought a vehicle, why wouldn't I
nobody
take that?
is listening to you.
Okay, well, can I leave?
No.
A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Fatoumata and Kanaya.
Fatoumata Diallo has accused salon owner Kanaya Taylor of stealing 5 wigs. Kanaya says Fatoumata was trying to scam her.
So the car was repossessed. When? Don't look at her. Give me a month, give me a year. Was it recent, in the last 3 months, 4 months?
I can't give you a month.
So it was repossessed because of non-payment of whatever the note was, because that's the only basis to repossess a car. Okay. Now, you say you're not living in that same apartment anymore. You were living in this 2-bedroom apartment with a roommate.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh is not an answer.
Yeah.
Yes is an answer. And you're no longer living in that apartment.
No.
And what happened to that apartment?
I moved. She moved with me.
Okay. You moved when?
November.
November of 2021.
Yes.
Just about the time of all these disputes over wigs. Did your roommate remain in the apartment?
Yes.
Did you have a lease in that apartment?
Yes.
Was your lease over, or did you move out during the lease?
It was over, and I renewed it for my roommate.
Now, the lease was in your name.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh is not an answer. Yes is an
ma'am.
answer, and you renewed the lease even though you moved out.
Yes, ma'am.
Where are you living now?
In Conyers.
What kind of place?
House. And I pay all the bills.
And what does your girlfriend do?
She works.
What does she do?
She does lashes. She does hair. She does nails. She's an entrepreneur.
Does she have a website?
Yes.
Yes. What's the name of her website? You think?
Yeah, I think. I don't be on. I don't shop with her.
Got it?
Looking.
Did you have a conversation with Miss Taylor about these 5 wigs? Did you have a conversation with her?
Yes.
Do you have a cell phone?
Me? No.
Did you ever have a cell phone?
Yes.
What happened to your cell phone?
I broke it, so I went on another one.
And you didn't get another one?
It have to get sent to the house. I just broke it. Like, I just broke it.
You just broke it?
Yeah.
So
last
you
week.
have a cell phone. Tell me how you broke the cell phone.
I got real angry and I threw it.
You got angry with somebody?
Yes.
And tell me how your girlfriend lost her cell phone.
Oh, she gave it to me.
And when did she lose her cell phone?
She gave me that phone. I bought her another phone. She gave me that
So she
phone
gave you,
around.
just a second. So she gave you the phone that she had been using,
Yes.
which had Joyce information on it. That was the phone she gave you.
I guess so. I don't know Joyce. I don't know who Joyce is.
Sit down.
Braylon sits.
Ms. Taylor, you want to be in business, you have to pay for what you ordered. It's
Yeah,
absolutely,
okay.
I'm not speaking to you, it's absolutely outrageous that she sent you these wigs, they were delivered to your house, and she not only doesn't have the wig, she doesn't have not only her profit, she doesn't have any money. And you've got a lot of clients that you can't identify, and phones that got lost, and information that you don't
Resetted the
have.
phone.
And information that you don't
Before y'all
have,
hit me,
that you
literally.
don't have. Clients that are no longer clients, that blocked you. I mean, people who block you after you work for them for a year, that means that you're either doing a lousy job.
No, because the way she came at me, I actually chumped them off because I feel like you're messing up my business. So I chumped them off, and I guess she didn't want to reply, and she just blocked me.
2196, judgment for the plaintiff.
Your Honor, I have other text messages. I was out of business for like month and a half.
I have to tell you something. I can't discern whether you lost business or not because of this. I cannot discern that. I can give you back the money that you lost as a result of shipping her 5 wigs and not getting compensated for it.
And I also have court fees, and I ordered a PI as well.
But
Just a second.
More people
that I will
just me
hear.
for wigs.
What
You
were
the
your court
scammer.
fees?
I'm not the only person you suing. If I
I'm
pulled
not,
up
nobody,
and bought a
nobody,
wig, why wouldn't I
nobody
do that?
is listening to you.
Okay, well, can I leave?
No.
Kanaya rolls her eyes.
'Cause it's
Court fees.
like,
And I also have my incident report that day.
Just a second. Would you please just give me the court fees? You said you had court fees and you hired an investigator.
Yes, I did.
And I'd like to see that invoice, because that you're entitled to.
I have the text messages of my PI.
Fautomata hands documents to Kevin, who brings them to Judy. She reviews them.
I don't know what this is. I don't know what this is that you're
That
handing
was
me.
just-
I asked you what the court fees were.
I have my PI phone number.
you have nothing.
I didn't print out my court fees, but I do have my more.
Do you have an invoice from the investigator that you say that you hired?
Yes.
And the work that they
Yes,
did?
I have all the messages.
I don't want messages. I need an invoice, a payment.
I did a payment, $400, and we have the text message trying to find her everything.
Can I see it, please?
Fautomata hands her phone to Kevin, who brings it to Judy. She reviews a string of text messages.
It was $250 for skip tracing and $150 for service.
My sales went down.
Just a second. Did this person serve her?
Yes, they did.
2196, judgment for the plaintiff. That's it. We're
This
done.
court is adjourned.
Outside the courtroom, Kanaya, then Fautomata.
I never did it. You know, I just got it sent to my house.
We went through everything. We had to go through birthdays.
It's like saying, oh, I know a friend that they know how to cut hair.
Text messages, everything.
And then you don't like your haircut. What, you want me to pay for your haircut? Like, girl.
We literally hawked her down for the information.
She honestly messed up my clientele.
Judy and Sarah.
It would be easy to be forthcoming with me and say, these are the clients who I sold it to. I gave her the information. They were supposed to pay her, whatever, but she didn't.
A lot of running around.
A lot of
circle
running
story.
around, and there's no question that the plaintiff sold her those wigs. She made a markup. She made a 25% markup. That's okay. And I'm certain that she put in the wigs and made her own markup. You know, that's commerce. But this ability to reverse charges on a credit card and to have somebody, and it's usually just a person, we're not talking about a committee or a tribunal.
Go. Well done. 3, 2, 1, go. Well done. Three, 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 2, 1, go. Well done.